There are 17 races on the Verizon IndyCar schedule, and this week the series makes its one stop outside the United States. Toronto, Canada is the fourth largest city in North America, and quite the contrast to last week's race in the rural setting of Iowa. Since 1986, open-wheel racing has been held on the streets of Toronto, making it the second longest running street race in IndyCar. Race Week in Toronto is a weekend festival along the shore of Lake Ontario, with tens of thousands of fans passionate for the racing on the track and endless fun off of it. For the 21 drivers in the field, there's little time for fun, as the 1.7-mile circuit is one of the bumpiest they will face, with a different challenge around each of the 11 turns. Over the years, local fans have gotten a chance to cheer a hometown racer to victory, with our own Paul Tracy winning twice. And today they put all their support behind the lone Canadian in the field, James Hinchcliffe, coming off his career best finish in Toronto last year on the podium. 31 years ago, Bobby Rahal won the first race here. And today, Graham Rahal hopes to follow his father to victory lane. Scott Dixon has won here twice and can use at least a podium finish to protect his shrinking points lead. Elio Castroneves cut that lead to 8 last week with his first win since 2014 and is once again in the hunt for his first career championship. But today, his Penske teammate Simon Pagenaud is primed to make his move in the standings. The defending series champion starts on the pole today. Welcome to IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon, where in 45 minutes the green flag will wave on this 151-mile race. Well, weather is going to be a storyline. It is sunny right now, but just about 15 minutes ago, we had a light shower, somewhere between sprinkles and showers, and there's about a 50% chance of rain before we're done today, so that's going to add an extra layer of intrigue. Thanks for joining us today from Exhibition Place. I'm Kevin Lee. You got a look at our vantage point here today. You may have seen BMO Field, the soccer field that's nearby, and also right behind me, turns 8 and 9 of this 11-turn track. Turn 10 you can also see right back there as well, and going into the pit lane as well. And there is plenty of history at this place. As mentioned, only one street race has a longer history, and that is Long Beach. And as we enter this weekend, one of the storylines is still last weekend, and Elio Castroneves breaking through to win for the first time in over 3 years at Iowa, and he closed in on the championship. That's the only thing Castroneves has not done, and he is now within 8 of Scott Dixon in that tight championship fight. Now this weekend, the Penskes are strong once again. 1 through 4 overall in practice. Simon Pagenaud has been the quickest so far. We get to qualifying, and there were a number of storylines. In round 1, Esteban Gutierrez, the former Formula One driver, involved in a heavy crash, caught fire as well. He was in line to advance onto round 2, so his exclusion allowed the hometown hero, James Hinchcliffe, to be able to advance. And then in round 2, J.R. Hildebrand, after his runner-up finish last week, into the tires. So that was a red flag. It set up a one-lap shootout. Scott Dixon was on the outside looking in. He advanced. So did Graham Rahal and James Hinchcliffe too. Josef Newgarden did not. In the Firestone Fast 6, Graham Rahal topped a couple of Penskes to qualify second, but it was Simon Pagenaud with his first pole of the season. And Elio Castroneves also with another strong qualifying effort. He qualified third. That happens to be his car number, and it happens to be the position that he started in this race last year. It's IndyCar from the heartland, Iowa Speedway. Let's go!
Elio Castroneves tries to draw a bead on Will Powers.
Castroneves moving past his teammate in the lead. What a story this would be for Elio Castroneves. 54 races since his last win in 2014. J.R. Hildebrand is coming. Looks like he might have something soon for the Penskes. J.R. Hildebrand going to the front.
J.R. Hildebrand, now that he has dispatched him, Elio Castroneves is starting to flex his muscle. We have a caution out on the racetrack.
Castroneves picks up 2 spots on pit road.
Elio Castroneves has been at the front the whole race long.
Swirling rumors about his future, wants to put it back in victory lane and might have the car to do it at Iowa.
Castroneves is on pit lane.
The time from when it was dropped off to Jax to when he left, he definitely lost some time.
Castroneves has to push.
And Elio back to the front, looking to win for the first time in over 3 years.
Yes! Finally! Woo!
Castroneves squarely is in the championship hunt.
I'm just going to climb the fence. It's been a long time.
What can I say, man? What a race. I'm speechless. What a great feeling. It's just like the first time, man.
It's going to be a showdown between him and Dixon the rest of the year.
So Elio got it done last week at Iowa to tighten up the championship within 8 of Scott Dixon. It's as close as it's been since Detroit. Very much still 6 in the championship fight. 2 of those from Team Penske are standing by right now with Jan Bikas.
And yes, you're talking about championship points. And of course, the very last driver to score championship points this weekend was your pole position yesterday. It was dominant, 0.3 of a second. But we just had some showers. How will the car be in those kind of conditions?
Well, it's just going to have to adapt to whatever the situation is. And this track here, it rewards that, the adjustment, you being able to adjust to whatever the conditions are. So we've got a fantastic car. The DXC technology car has been phenomenal all weekend. And it's great to be back on form this way. So hopefully it all goes our way today, and hopefully we can get another win.
And Elio, speaking of wins, we just saw your celebration at Iowa. I know you're still celebrating. With many drivers, they get that first win in a long time, and then they start to come more and more. How confident today are you now?
Oh, we're extremely confident. But actually, we never lost the confidence, to be honest. Iowa just finally everything came through. Hitachi Chevy there was great. Hitachi Chevy is still really good here. Congrats to Simon. He put a phenomenal lap out there yesterday. But in the end of the day, all 4 cars have a phenomenal chance to win today. We just got to make sure that the weather helps us out, or whatever's going to happen, we got to be on top of it. It's a big deal. Obviously, it's even that the last race is over 200 points. We still have a lot of points in the game. We just got to keep collecting so that we can fight for the end.
All right, Elio mentions points. Remember, he's only 8 away right now from Scott Dixon. Katie?
And Elio may have won last week, but last time we were on a bumpy street course, Graham Rahal came away with back-to-back wins. Graham, what did you learn in Detroit that translates here to Toronto?
Well, it's been a little bit different this weekend. You know, we started with the basics, same setup, you know, and we've had to adjust from there. But, you know, I think our entire Rousseau team has done a great job to adapt this weekend. And, you know, obviously the Penske guys have been strong. Today's going to be a little bit of an interesting day with the weather and everything else. But hopefully we can give it our all and challenge those guys as much as we can and come away with another win.
What I've been watching all weekend long is just how much your head moves when you're going through turn 1. What's that going to be like for 85 laps?
Yeah, well, hopefully, obviously, the video that's on the screen, you know, hopefully we don't see that as much, you know, but, you know, hopefully be able to calm it down a little bit. I mean, it's been a bit of a wild ride. I feel like I've gone 10 rounds with Tyson already, and, you know, we got 85 more to go. But, you know, our guys have worked awfully hard on it, and I've kind of, thanks to PT, really, you know, and Townsend looked around, tried to find different lines that have worked a little bit for me. But this place is rough. It's ready for a repave on the front straight for sure, to say the least. But it's the same for everybody. You got to go out there, make no mistakes today. Particularly if it rains, it's going to change the face of this quite a lot. But, you know, hopefully we can do a good job. A lot of points on the line, but at the same time for us, you know, to catch those Penskes and to pass them, we got to win. So we're gonna try pretty hard today.
Anders will be starting on the outside of the front row.
And Katie, there's very little doubt that the most popular man here this weekend is James Hinchcliffe. But James, Toronto hasn't been the kindest of tracks to you in the past few years. But last year you broke through that to that podium finish finally. You won at Long Beach earlier this year. What's it going to take today?
Man, I don't know. We're going to try and find out on the fly. You know, this track is very, very tricky, as everyone's been talking about all weekend long. You still have to sign it, Simon. We have to, you know, we've got to try and make something work. We managed to get into the top 6 in qualifying again, which is great. You know, we got into the podium from there last year, and wow, this doesn't tickle. But it's going to be tricky. Conditions, hopefully the weather holds off and, you know, stays dry for the fans here and for this guy right here.
Well, I was going to ask you about conditions, but then suddenly someone started, you know, signing your lower extremities here. James, what's the deal with all this on your suit?
You know, with Honda Canada, we've had an association for a few years, and they're big supporters of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And the last couple seasons, we take a suit, we put it on display at the Honda booth here, and if you make a donation to Make-A-Wish, you got to sign the race suit. So I got everybody to sign it in silver, and then I came here and had all the drivers sign it in gold as well. And then we're going to auction this off later, try and raise some more money for a great cause.
Well, what do you say, Kevin? We should probably head onto that website and donate ourselves, huh?
I'm all for donating, and I also would say IndyCar drivers have always been very friendly with each other, maybe a little bit too friendly sometimes. Well, one of our favorites is this guy, Scott Dixon, right here, the 4-time champion going for number 5. We're going to talk to him coming up in just a moment. And one of the landmarks is the CN Tower, third largest structure in the world. That's 147 stories in the air. I would not be able to do that. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon. It's the Honda Indy Toronto coming up today from one of the great cities in the world. You see the CN Tower there, downtown Toronto. Weather is going to be a storyline. We had rain just about 30 minutes ago. Now we have some sunshine, but there's potential of rain in the forecast. That always makes things exciting. Well, last year here was the 30th anniversary of the first visit to IndyCar here in this great city in Canada. And once again, we thought we knew who was going to dominate the weekend, but it was not the guy in charge that ultimately prevailed.
It's time to bring the action in Toronto. And look at that, Dixon gets away to a nice start.
That's some serious racing in the streets of Toronto.
Dixon has control of this race.
We're a lap or two from Scott Dixon pitting, and he wants to stretch it as long as he can to ensure that he doesn't get caught by a yellow.
Pit this lap.
Will Power getting into the pits just at the right time.
We got a car in the wall. It is Josef Newgarden.
Oh, big break for Power.
Tim Cindric had just made the call to pit.
Full yellow, full yellow.
This is really bad news for Scott Dixon.
There goes the price.
And surprise, surprise, Will Power has gone to P1.
The native son, James Hinchcliffe, trying to hold off for that podium.
Will Power wins on the streets of Toronto. Great strategy call, and it paid off.
I mean, that was a great call right there. You know, it's finally one went our way.
Thank you, boys. Well done, baby.
And Hinchcliffe, the local hero, is going to stand on the podium at home.
And Will's win here on the streets of Toronto came during a hot streak last year. And Will, every year it seems like Team Penske and Ganassi are fighting for the championship. Ganassi lines up to back Scott. Will there ever be a time where Penske lines up to back each other?
It's tough with so many good drivers in the team. Obviously, yeah, Scott kind of is the man in his team, and the rest help for the most part. But yeah, we push each other hard. That's why we're fast. I mean, we get each other's information and learn a lot off each other, and that really pushes the team. So it's a great situation, and I have to say it's a good problem to have when, you know, for the team having to deal with teammates racing each other.
Speaking of that hot streak, is there anything you feel like you maybe need to adjust your driving style this year to get back to that form?
Yeah, I mean, we've been fast all year. We've been good in qualifying, and we've been, you know, it's just circumstances haven't worked out in, you know, a few cases, but we're there. We have a shot. We just got to be smart, understand our competition, and really just get the most out of the race.
Kevin, he'll start fourth today.
And Will mentioned Scott Dixon, and Dixon normally is a strong finisher. He's the championship leader, but this year he got off to the great start, averaging 3.2 as his finish, with no worse than 5 in the first 5. Since then, yes, he does have the win at Road America and a runner-up at Detroit, but the crash at Indy has brought down the overall average. So we'll see what Dixon can do as we move towards the end of the season. And he's been great on these remaining tracks. 15 wins on the remaining 6 venues, and this is one of them. Back in 2013, he had a dominating weekend here in Toronto.
Green flag waves, 2 in TO, race number 1. Scott Dixon got racing. Dixon on the move. Scott gets by Dario. Brilliant stuff for Scott Dixon's team. This is going to be really close. Watch for Power on the right. Dixon's got it, but it's over momentarily.
And Dixon on the button, Power on the button.
Great driving from Scott Dixon, and wins the first one in Toronto. Green for the first standing start in IndyCar Series history.
Scott Dixon quickest to the first apex.
Dixon in command.
The car has been as close to perfect as it's going to get.
What a weekend it has been for Scott Dixon.
Double win there in 2013, and looked like last year you were going to repeat that, and then that late full course yellow messed everything up for you. What are you going to have to do today to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, hopefully we can have one of those fall our way, but it's always tough here at Toronto, and especially if, we're talking about maybe weather being an issue as well, or changing the race. But, strategy is typically quite tough on these street courses, and sometimes it rolls your way and sometimes it doesn't. And last year, it totally didn't go our way. But the NTT data car, we've maybe not had the best balance, I think, throughout the week, and we made some good gains for qualifying and were able to make it into the Firestone Fast 6. So starting 5th, hopefully we can, make a couple of things happen. Get some good fuel mileage. The Honda's been getting great fuel mileage throughout all the races this year. So if we, we can use that to our advantage.
At Iowa Speedway, Elio Castroneves took a massive chunk out of your championship lead. Does that add any additional pressure today?
It is what it is, I think there's plenty of races, earlier in the year which we could have, made the same kind of strides. It's just been a rough year, I think, for the start of the season for us. We've had good pace. I think these last couple have been maybe tracks that, we didn't fare so well, and Iowa we knew was going to be, was going to be pretty bad. But, we'll keep our head down, and try and make the most of it, try and stay clean, and hopefully, come the end of the race here at Toronto, we'll be fighting for a win.
All right, Scott Dixon rolls off 5th today around a bunch of very hungry Team Penske drivers.
And Anders, as Scott talked about, very challenging track. And what about the pit lane? There's a look at it. Remember, it changed last year because of construction of a new hotel in the inside of the main straightaway. So there are actually 3 twists on this very tight pit lane. And Jan Bikas, this adds an entirely different element to today's race.
And I think the challenge is definitely the operative word. And of course, these pit boxes are 35 feet. That's the same length as Mid-Ohio, the shortest of the year. However, you mentioned that serpentine layout here on pit road. You turn right and then you turn left. Those that are in the ones that bend to the right here, all these crews, they're going to be confined because of the way these are slanted in. Those that have pit boxes that bend to the left, those crews sometimes are unsighted. They don't see the car coming until the last moment. Now, these positions are determined by how you qualified in the last race. You may remember in Iowa, the way it works there is that the chief mechanic pulls out of a hat for your qualifying order. And for Scott Dixon and for Josef Newgarden, they went early and didn't qualify well, meaning they're stuck back here in the bad or the less favorable part of pit road. But they caught a break. Here's a literal break. And by the way, it won't be this crowded when it comes pit stop time, but they have a break between the two of them. So very good fortune for Scott Dixon. He has a clear out and a break for a clean in for Josef Newgarden. One thing that did not happen in 2016, it did not go full course caution where everyone had to pit at the same time. If that happens this year, it's been discussed series-wide. All these teams are going to have to work together. There's going to have to be some give and take.
Yeah, Jan, we were in the drivers' meeting today, and that was much of the conversation. Protect each other, and especially protect the exposed crew members. Well, Elio Castroneves is trying to make it 2 in a row. 61 wins between those two guys. That's our own Paul Tracy. He's going to sit down with Elio and chat coming up in just a moment. Josef Newgarden is one of the former winners entered here this weekend in Toronto. He won 2 years ago, now one of 4 Team Penske drivers that has a great chance to win starting 7th. And that includes Elio Castroneves, starting 3rd today. He won number 30 last weekend. It all started for Elio, including climbing the fence for the first time with his first IndyCar win. It came for the captain at Detroit back in 2000. He surprised everyone when he climbed the fence, and that became his tradition. And also, he did it again at Indianapolis for the first of 3 times. Paul Tracy might disagree with win number 2 in the Indianapolis 500. At Gateway, where IndyCar returns this year, he was the last winner in 2003. 08 in Chicago, second closest IndyCar finish ever. A very emotional win in 2009 at Indianapolis. And then last week, the most recent win. Well, I mentioned Paul Tracy. One more win, and Elio will join 3 legends, including Tracy, for 9th on the all-time win list. And certainly, these two will forever be linked, mostly because of the 2002 Indianapolis 500. Remember, Castroneves was leading late. Tracy was passing him. There was a yellow. We thought Tracy might be ahead. Some still think Tracy should have been declared the winner, but after a long review, it was determined that Castroneves got the win. Well, PT and Elio sat down to chat this week.
So there's this perception, right, in the media, in the public, that you and I just we don't like each other, and everybody's blown away that I give you high praise the last couple years of your speed. So let's just clear up for everybody.
that
good.
we're
good. We're good.
there's no problem.
I never had a problem with you. Trust me.
So the question really on everybody's mind is, you're 42. You got 8 front row starts this year. You started out this weekend quickest in practice. How are you making this happen at your age?
Having a phenomenal team behind, with information they have with great teammates, and keep your mind open. You're trying to always look for details, and at the moment, that's exactly what I'm doing.
You're 42. You're on track to win the championship. You think you can make it happen?
I know I can make it happen. You know, all these years we've been always close. Dixon and I, obviously, most of the championship that Dixon have, I finished second. So we got to change that. We got to make it happen. But I also know that I have other amazing teammates that are battling on this championship. Plus, we still have a lot of points in the game. And man, let me tell you, the best thing is, like what happened in Iowa, it was seeing Roger so excited. You know, Roger gets really excited, and for me, was people sometimes don't realize he leads this team, and everybody feeds from his energy. And just to see him so excited, it makes us. We got to do it again, and that's our goal.
He wants his guy to win too. He doesn't want to not win either. So speaking of Roger, the big announcement this week, this big sports car program. There's speculation that you're going in the sports car program. If that scenario was to come, and they say, look, we don't have a seat, this is your option, are you happy to go that route, or do you want to stay in IndyCar and maybe look at what if there's another opportunity?
At the moment, I'm focused 100% on this championship. There is nothing official yet. I do trust in Roger Penske and Team Cindric. What we've been discussing right now is just we're waiting to see what this is going to happen. And I wish I would stay here. So far, I heard that I have a position open. Let's see what's going to happen. So right now, I'm really looking forward to this weekend in Toronto and keep moving on.
All right, well, good luck this weekend. Oh, I got one more question.
Right.
Can you at least let me borrow the Borg Warner so I can take some selfies and do some little Instagram and Facebook?
I don't trust you. Are you going to take it away, sir? You can go at Indianapolis and take pictures of the big one.
All right.
Great stuff, PT and Elio, and the only thing he hasn't done is win a championship, and what a celebration that would be. And you can follow Elio today on board with Verizon Streaming. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon. Well, Elio Castroneves and Tony Kanaan will be forever linked. Remember, they came to America together driving for Steve Horn's Indy Lights team. This is their 20th season in IndyCar, 47 career wins for the boyhood friends. All right, time now to go downstairs. It's one of our favorite parts of the show. They've led Robin Miller into the country. It's time for the grid run.
I got a 30-day visa. All right, Kanaan, we just did a big feature on Elio Castroneves. It's been 44 races since you won. You came from 15th to win once. Michael Andretti came from 13th. Can you get it done?
Yeah, man. I mean, I still feel I have it. So eventually one of these days, hopefully it'll be, that's it, 44 races since I won. We'll stop that today.
Did you remind Chip that if Dixon wins the championship, what you did for him last week should be worth some kind of bonus money?
I don't know. I mean, I think people saw it. So,
who's this guy?
That's my oldest.
Is that Leo? Are you going to drive race cars or be a soccer player?
I don't like much soccer.
Race cars, no.
Okay, brother. Well, follow his lead. Let's go see if we can find old Spencer Piggott. There he is. Spence! All right, brother. You've passed the most cars in this series. You've had a couple great results kind of taken away by some flukes. You were fast yesterday, almost made the fast 12 by like 100,000th of a second. What do you got for him today?
Well, we're the only ones starting on black, so at least we know we're doing something a little different, which can be good. So we'll see. You know, the rain's out there, but Fuzzy's vodka car has been good so far, and we'll give it a good shot.
You're a nice kid. Are you going to use the chrome horns one time and move people out of the way here?
I don't know about that. That thing's pretty fragile up there, and I don't want to have to come in for another one.
All right, have a good race. Come on, Bama. You folks don't know this, but the guy that shoots for us, Bama, they're going to be standing at attention. I'm going to stand at attention. There's Ryan Hunter-Ray. Sorry, Bama. Bama, my camera guy's the best. One quick 20-second answer, brother. It's been a while since you won. You've been fast. You've been cursed. What can you do? You were fourth fastest, I think, in him last practice.
Yeah, we were fast this morning, warm-up fast yesterday in practice. Just kind of got hosed by the red there, but it's Toronto. Anything can happen, so just have to go fast, try and pick the right strategy. That's the big thing. And who knows with the rain, that could really mix it up. So I wouldn't be disappointed if the skies opened up.
All right.
Thanks.
Good luck. Kevin Lee.
All right, can we get our 10th different winner in 12 races? We'll find out very, very shortly. And Townsend Bell and Paul Tracy are on deck in a moment. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon.
Toronto is one of the most historic races that we have. My dad won the first race there back in the 80s.
One of our great street courses, I think, that we've had through history of IndyCar racing.
It's a street course that continues to challenge us every year more and more. It's a little bit different every year, where the curb placement is, all that kind of stuff, and it's all those little tiny details that end up making the difference.
Turn 1, turn 3, turn 5, turn 6. There's concrete everywhere, and it's mixed in between asphalt, so figuring out the grip at Toronto is a nightmare. Looking forward to seeing if it's refined a little bit for 2017, but a lot of great changes there, but the Canadian fans, they're always passionate.
The Canadians are really fanatic about racing, so we got to go to a race. Toronto is the place to be.
Yet another very unique and entertaining place to visit. It's produced great racing, incredibly challenging as well. It's the Honda Indy Toronto from Exhibition Place. And one of the heroes here is our own Paul Tracy. He's won 2 times, including very early in his career. Back in 1993, the thrill from West Hill got it done, thrilling the hometown fans. And he did it a decade later as well in 2003. Paul Tracy is still a hero. And it's just a pleasure to hang around with PT throughout the weekend. He is the man. And Townsend Bell and I'm Kevin Lee, thanks for joining us, are just simply wait as the flyover comes over right now to greet the introduction of the hometown hero. It's Paul Tracy. All right, let's get serious.
I just got a jet flyover.
Let's talk about the championship now. 6 still very much in the mix right now, but very different dynamics for most all of these contenders.
Well, we talk about it every year, year in, year out. The team tactics between Penske and Ganassi, how they go about winning a championship. The Penske guys are all going to fight each other for the championship all the way down the line. And we saw last week already Tony Kanaan moved over for position at the end of the Iowa race to help Scott Dixon, that man right there. So much, much different tactics. But the guy I would keep my eye on is young G. Graham Rahal. That guy fights for nobody but himself, and he's a 2-time winner on the last street course at Detroit, so watch out for him today on the front row.
That was very impressive to top a couple of the Penskes who had fresh tires for the final round, the Firestone Fast 6 yesterday, and start second. But another dynamic potentially on the horizon. Townsend, it might rain.
Kevin, there are dark clouds looming in the horizon, and that can only mean one thing, that Midwestern lake precipitation is on its way here to Toronto. If that happens, this place is a disaster zone historically. Let's look back to some previous wet weather races. This is 2014 on board with Castroneves. Will Power up in front. His teammate loses it. And just look at how bad the visibility is on this lakeside drive here. Up in the air, the mist flows for the first several laps. It is very, very difficult to see. And the reason for that is this concrete is very polished. It's like the floor of a Home Depot as opposed to like a sidewalk, which has grit for the rubber to build and when it's wet to have traction. So very difficult conditions. If the rain comes, I think we're going to see it before this race is up.
Wet or dry, I think it's going to be entertaining today. Thanks for watching IndyCar Live on CNBC today, presented by Verizon. Drivers are getting ready to go. The command is coming up. James Hinchcliffe and his girlfriend Becky and so many more ready to go in Toronto. For Elio Castroneves, 2014 was the last time the 20-year veteran found the top step on the podium. But at Iowa Speedway 1 week ago, the Brazilian charged his way to the top. Back to the front, Hildebrand will move to second. Checkered flag, win number 30, and Castroneves squarely is in the championship hunt. Elio now sits second in the IndyCar Championship, a position he is familiar with. Over the course of his career, he's finished second 4 times without winning a title. Today in Toronto, Elio will have to battle with 4-time champion Scott Dixon, while 2016 points winner Simon Pagenaud leads them to green.
us, guys. We did it.
It's round 12 of 17 in the 2017 Verizon IndyCar Series. From Toronto, Ontario, Canada, it's the Honda Indy Toronto. Weather a storyline. It's dry right now with some sunshine, but it rained about 45 minutes ago, and there's a 50-50 chance we see moisture, which will add to the dynamics of this event before we're done today. Very challenging, very tricky layout. We'll break it down, all coming up. But first, we need to start engines. Let's go trackside.
Toronto race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in auto sports. Please welcome our Grand Marshal, 8-time Juno Award winner, Grammy nominee, Canadian Music Hall of Fame member, and singer of the song Life is a Highway, Tom Cochrane, to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines.
'21 IndyCar engines, Chevy and Honda, fired and ready to go on the streets of Toronto today. Dry for the moment, but will it stay that way through this concrete jungle? Championship is tight, 6 to go. And this is where everything takes place today. Townsend, what a challenging layout.
Well, life will be no highway today. This, drivers will tell you, is the most challenging track of the season. Down in turn 1, you can see a mixed patchwork of surfaces, concrete and asphalt, as Graham Rahal just absolutely bajas his way into the brake zone. We ride on board, and you can see how he fights the steering wheel about across those tricky concrete patches. Then in turn 3, great passing zone. This is where you'll see most of the passes at least attempted as we ride on board here side by side. Driver to the outside can sometimes get squeezed there. Other times, if you have a nose on your competition like Alexander Rossi on Carlos Munoz here, you have the position if you can stay ahead. And then the new section, really turn 8 leads to these 3 corners. Pit in is on your left, just out of this right-hand corner. And it's flowy, but it's also very bumpy to complete a lap. If you get it wrong like Carlos Munoz did, you wallop the wall. Sorry, that is Esteban Gutierrez, excuse me, who had a big crash in practice. Car caught on fire, massive damage for that Dale Coyne crew. But it is a tricky place, guys.
That is Townsend Bell, who won here in Indy Lights. Paul Tracy is also with us, a 2-time winner here in his hometown. I'm Kevin Lee. Another storyline is off the racetrack. It's a very challenging pit lane. For more, we start with Katie Hargan.
And Kevin, this is where the race can be won or lost. Here on pit road, it's some of the shortest pit boxes that drivers encounter all year at 35 feet. But that's not even the biggest challenge. This pit road has several curves to it, including where the front row of Simon Pagenaud and Graham Rahal are pitted. And if a yellow comes out and the entire field comes to pit road, these guys are almost certainly going to get boxed in, and they could lose several positions. Anders?
And Katie, if you remember back to last year, Scott Dixon had some rotten luck when a full course caution came out right at the very last moment, destroyed his race. But today, he's been lucky. See, he's pitted right before this big old break here. It's about 7 yards. That's going to help him get a straight shot out of the pit lane here, and that could help him. What do you think, Robin?
I think Takuma Sato's got a tough enough shore. He's starting 10th, Anders. But that's not the real challenge. The challenge is for his pit crew. When he comes into the pits, the only guy on this team that can see him coming around this corner is right front man Billy Vincent. He can actually see him. So what they asked him to do was, they said, Takuma, when you come in the pits, you get on the radio and you tell us when you're coming in the pits so they can at least have a chance to see where he's at before he's right on top of him. But it's going to be a challenge. Jan Beekes?
Well, there's no question, Robin, who has the best pit position today. It's the last pit box, and that is in the hands of Will Power. In fact, the team celebrated when they knew they would have this spot after winning the pole in Iowa. But check out these burnout marks. This is the key. He is unimpeded. He is unimpeded when he leaves here, but these marks, yes, there's no one in front of him, but it puts him right in the path of oncoming traffic.
All right, thank you, Jan. A lot of things to watch today as we get set to go. A really entertaining qualifying session yesterday in knockout qualifying, and here is how they will line up.
Well, Castroneves, as you see there, did a great job to be on the second row. Simon Pagenaud, obviously, with the pole position with a brilliant lap. Pagenaud feels like he's figured something out. And then the hometown kid, James Hinchcliffe, in the top 6 ball.
Scott Dixon had to dig deep to get into the fast 6, so look for him to improve. Josef Newgarden was really annoyed that he didn't get through because of a red flag. But look at all these Honda guys. Rossi, Sato, Chilton, Marco, I think all these guys need a good result.
I think if it rains ball, Alexander Rossi will be one to watch. A tremendous amount of wet weather experience in Europe. Looking further back, Ryan Hunter-Reay, always one you can count on to come charging through the field. If the car is good, he's going to be strong. We already heard that he wants rain today, so he'll be doing the dance.
Hunter-Reay, Carlos Munoz, not a good qualifying for him, and Sebastian Saavedra standing in for Aloshin, and Esteban Gutierrez was into the top 12 yesterday and got eliminated with that crash. It was questionable whether he was going to drive, but he's cleared today.
Meanwhile, we have 6 on boards to give us really fascinating looks, and there's Sebastian Saavedra standing in for Mikhail Aloshin, who may be back in the car in a couple of weeks at Mid-Ohio. That's the Aero on board. He'll start 20th. Tony Kanaan will start 14th with the NTT data on board. The hometown hero, James Hinchcliffe, starting 6th with the Lucas Oil on board. The Verizon on board is the Verizon driver, Will Power, who starts on the outside of the second row. On the front row with the Russo on board, this is our visor cam, and we'll get a sense of how bumpy and treacherous this track can be. It's Graham Rahal. And we have Verizon streaming on board with last week's winner, Elio Castroneves. He'll start 3rd, and you can go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon. Connor Daly already on the pit lane with some early difficulties.
Well, either that or they might have topped it up, so who knows. The points here are going to be really tough to get down here going down the line as we got one more lap to go. Townsend, as we look at the points here, Scott Dixon with a narrow points lead over Castroneves, but all those Penske guys fighting each other, Townsend.
Well, and that's a benefit for Scott Dixon, as you talked about earlier. Dixon has his Ganassi team lined up to help him, where the Penske boys are going to go at it all season, all the way down to Sonoma. And we've got to, again, mention Graham Rahal sits there in 6th position. If Graham Rahal has a big day today, which he's totally capable of, like he did in Detroit, it could really throw the championship for a loop.
With all these Penske guys on the front, what we've typically seen them do is do a kind of a fast lead-in and spread the field out, but Graham Rahal is going to want to be right there. So the last few weeks, it's been a quick start.
Starting to get lined up 2 by 2 through turn 9. Coming into turn number 10, the only visit outside the United States all season. North of the border, it's the Honda Indy Toronto, and here we go. Front row, Pagenaud, Rahal, who gets the early jump, and we're on. It's Pagenaud in the white and black car. There's Castroneves coming to the inside. He'll get around his teammate. Castroneves into turn 1 from 3rd to 1st for the lead.
Meantime, Scott Dixon forced his way up the inside. Dixon with a big run down the back straightaway.
I tell you what, that was a power move, but look at Pagenaud coming back. He's going to make him go around the long way. Rahal looking, but what a move.
Oh! Will Power in the
wall. Breaks his wing.
Dixon has a flat left rear.
So Power is off. How much damage does the championship leader have in the blue car? That's Scott Dixon. He's wounded. He's going to have to limp his way around.
And Dixon needs to be careful to protect the rest of his car, get in the pit lane. He's got the whole field trying to come through. Terrible luck here for Dixon.
Rear tire is gone. It is flat down to the bottom. But the damage for Power, he's still stuck. Full course caution, so Power could potentially lose a lap here. Brakes are smoking, broken front wing. But man, what a move by Castroneves. Does that guy want this championship or what? And this is big, big, big time for him with Scott Dixon right here already having trouble.
Yeah, and Scott Dixon's coming in. They're going to take this opportunity to go off strategy, put new blacks on that car. Obviously some damage there to the left rear. So they're trying to investigate that right now, figure out exactly what's wrong with that car. This could be a lengthy one, guys.
And guys, with that one move, 3 corners into this race, Scott Dixon goes 35 points behind Castroneves as they sit right now. and Will Power is limping back to pit road.
Bent
Front
suspension.
toe.
Here, let's see what we can do with it.
He's got a broken toe link or broken lower control arm because that wheel is moving around off of its upright. So you look at the damage. He's got a long way to go to get to the pit lane, so he could do some damage to the car, Townsend, if this thing really starts to shake around.
Well, it looks like toe link, and it maybe the wheel's broken. Certainly the toe link's broken there.
Look at the steering correction just to go straight. He's got 90 degrees just to get it to go in a straight line, Townsend. He could easily hit the wall again.
Well, he took the impact from the right-hand side as we watched the restart. And look at Elio from third position. That black and white car is just going to absolutely smoke up the inside of his teammate. I think Pagenaud was distracted with Rahal. Never expected Elio to dive like that.
Hinchcliffe around the outside of Josef Newgarden as they drag race down the front straight. Nice move by Hinchcliffe.
Also of note, Tony Kanaan picked up 5 spots on the start. Josef Newgarden picked up 3 on board with Castroneves.
Oh, that was bold.
Big move, strong.
And what a shake-up in the championship with this contact. We can see a little further back. Was it Dixon that wiggled and got in?
I think Dixon locked up his rears and Power had to dodge to avoid, got into the wall, unless Dixon got into the back of Graham Rahal.
Will Power just came on the radio, and you can see why. He radioed and said, I cannot steer. You saw, obviously, the onboard footage where he was having that wheel all the way cranked to the left just to go straight. He tried to bring it to pit lane. He says, this car is finished. He's trying to get here. They have spare parts, but right now, he's dead stick on pit road.
Be interesting if they allow the team to go down there with a quick jack, Townsend, and pull that thing all the way down the pit lane.
Well, here's the
quick jack right here, but it'll be interesting if they allow the team to take that car down there manually.
The question is, does the safety team make him go backwards around the entrance of pit wall, or do they try to push him forward? Either way, he's going to go several laps down.
So you can see the wheels all the way cranked over, and the car just wants to automatically turn to the right, so he's trying to get into the pit lane. The car's trying to go right, and he can't make this left-hand corner. Look, full lock, and it won't go.
I think he should dump the clutch and try to spin it around. Oh, man.
And remember, he's pit out. That was an advantage. Now it's even a further path to go if they can get him there. But what a swing in the championship. Power was 4th in the championship coming in. Dixon the leader. It is going to be shaken up before we're done today. And for the moment, Castroneves is in position to take the lead.
And I think for Will Power's team
guys down to get you.
Yep, they're going to send, John Buslag just said, we're going to send guys down there to get you. So
what they know, Paul, is if rain comes and chaos ensues on the racetrack, they have a great chance to still make points. Even being several laps down, they're going to continue to fight.
Well, you have to. You can't. Penske never gives up. So they're going to fix this car, whether they're 5 laps down, 10 laps down, and get whatever they can get out of it.
So under yellow after the opening lap with a lot of things happening. Elio Castroneves jumped to the front and 2 championship leaders came together. Stay with us under yellow from Toronto. You're watching NBC's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of IndyCar and proud sponsor of Graham Rahal. So many beautiful sights in this city. In Toronto, one of the great cities in the world, entertaining racing and a lot of things already going on. Elio Castroneves is the leader in front of Simon Pagenaud and Graham Rahal. And there's Will Power, 4th in the championship, a 3-time winner here, going behind the wall after the contact on the opening lap with the championship leader, Scott Dixon, who does remain on the lead lap at the end of the lead lap.
Well, I don't think they're going to retire that car by the way they're running around. So I think they're going to just work on it back there and be out of harm's way on pit road if guys are pitting and off strategy, because I think it's going to take them a little while. So we watch Will Power here. I think, no, he ran into the back of Dixon. He ran right into the back of Dixon's back wheel and bounced himself over into the wall.
But Dixon, I think from the previous angle, got sideways locked up on the brake zone and surprised Power.
And guys, they're replacing the left rear brake duct, so there was some damage there sustained. They weren't happy with the brake temps here on the on this slow laps here behind the pace car, so they're changing that, and they'll be on their way shortly. Jan?
And I believe, Paul, you are correct. They are going to try to fix the car for Will Power, but they need now, you can see it's rolling back to the garage area. So it obviously needs major repairs, not something they can even do just behind the pit wall. So big repairs for Power, but he stays in the car, and they're hoping for rain and obviously hoping just to score some kind of points today by the end of the day.
Big developments here on the opening lap in Toronto and a major shakeup in the championship. And I know there are still a half a dozen races to go, but in a 17-race schedule, every point matters, and especially if you DNF. It's difficult to overcome that in IndyCar.
And I think you'll see Scott Dixon's team consider, as he comes back to pit lane, consider stopping early for rain tires if they think that they might get a sprinkle. Let's watch this again. Elio Castroneves, he's going to just dart out from the left-hand side, the number 3 car there, and totally surprised Pagenaud.
That was heads up by Pagenaud not to turn into his teammate. I heard a radio transmission a little bit ago. He said, I braked as late as I could. That was a big move by Castroneves to just slide down the inside.
So you're saying I should go to sports cars? Maybe not. All right, ready to restart. Back on the main straightaway. Castroneves with a great jump. Pagenaud in behind him. There's Graham Rahal. That orange car is Josef Newgarden. And then the local guy in the Aero car, the black and gold, that's James Hinchcliffe running in 5th.
I think we saw Takuma Sato maybe getting to the back of his teammate Alexander Rossi. Rossi had a bit of a bobble there as they come to the back straight. No push to pass allowed on the restart. It'll be eligible the next lap.
James Hinchcliffe coming down the outside of Josef Newgarden. He's not far enough up the long to make something happen as he slots back in.
This time it looks like everyone will get through cleanly. The 3, 4, 5, 6 complex headed towards turn 8 with a little twist in turn 7.
Fresh pavement all in this section over years past, but it is still bumpy. On that concrete patch right there is still very bumpy on the brakes, but this section here is all fresh pavement. So if it gets wet, very, very slippery because it's new pavement. There's a lot of oil that's not worked out of that pavement yet. But this is the most bumpy section of the track. You see the cars bouncing up and down in the brake zone here.
A little bit of debris sitting there that might have come off maybe the 9, we think, or perhaps from that contact with Sato and Rossi.
Let's watch Scott Dixon. Right side, see what you see if anything comes off.
Brake duct came off again. So they did not get that brake duct secure at the back of the car where they were trying to put it on. He was going to go a lap down as they were coming to green. We're on board with Hinch, so that brake duct that they were trying to fix, that could cost him some braking trouble with how hard you have to brake here, Townsend.
And Scott Dixon all alone, about a half a lap behind. He's in turn 1 as Elio Castroneves comes through the final corner.
You overheat those rear brakes, you can run out of rear brake. You got a big problem here.
Yeah, these brakes are so sensitive to heat.
There's the local yellow. One of the movers so far, I mentioned this, Tony Kanaan. We'll see him in the blue and white NTT data car. He's moved up from 14th to 9th so far. Carlos Munoz, Sebastian Saavedra, and Esteban Gutierrez have also moved up 4 spots.
And for Tony Kanaan, he is much happier now. In fact, you heard a bit of that in the pre-race. They were very unhappy, both he and Scott Dixon, with the handling of that car. Remember, Dixon and both Kanaan have been fast here in the past mechanically, but now they have a Honda Aero kit. They said, believe it or not, even though these are slow corners, downforce is critical here. It took us a long time to find the balance on this car.
I mentioned the movers that have coming up, brought to you by Firestone. Some of it is because of the problems that Scott Dixon and Will Power have had. Certainly Kanaan has made up positions mid-pack, but Munoz, Saavedra, Gutierrez moving up, and then Josef Newgarden is running 4th after starting in the 7th position. We know Team Penske has a good setup. They were 1, 2, 3, 4 in practice, so don't count out Josef Newgarden yet. That's him in the orange and white car. De Vilbiss this weekend on the number 2 for the winner here 2 years ago when he raced for Ed Carpenter Racing.
Wheel 3.
Making a fuel adjustment, but he was very annoyed about the red flag yesterday. He would have probably easily gone into the Fast 6. It's been one of the fastest cars all weekend, but he's right there right now. So
Marco Andretti defending Tony Kanaan. Kanaan trying to stay to the outside. Not much grip there right now. That might improve later in the race, but Kanaan all over
the back of Andretti.
And Marco has also moved up 3 spots after starting 11th. He's in 8th position, looking for a good result this weekend. And remember, his dad won 7 times on the streets of Toronto. Michael Andretti, the team boss, and one of the other team cars just a little bit ahead of Marco is Alexander Rossi, running in 6th position. Got a glimpse there of Rossi in the red and blue car this weekend. Scott Dixon, by the way, is going to get a drive-through for doing more work than you're allowed to do in a closed pit.
It goes from bad to worse for Scott Dixon. So, right penalties now.
Right now, with the drive-through for Dixon, for where he runs on the track, he runs the risk of running being put a lap down.
Alexander Rossi told me earlier today he feels like he's close to a breakthrough win this year in the Verizon IndyCar Series. He says he feels like his speed has been there all season long, but luck just has not gone their way. He thinks he had the car to win in Long Beach, then had a mechanical problem. They qualified near the back and Barber, as you see Scott Dixon entering pit lane there, but again, he qualified in the back and Barber, then drove his way through the field. He thinks with a good qualifying here on the streets of Toronto, he can battle for the lead.
Luckily, that pit lane's pretty short for Scott Dixon. He gets out in front of Castroneves. That's huge for Scott Dixon to stay on the lead lap as Marco Andretti really seems to be struggling to hold off Kanaan. Kanaan's car's fastball.
Yeah, the problem he's got for Dixon now, now that they're a lot closer, he's got to go like hell now and use those brakes, and he's got no rear brake ducts, so he could really smoke those back brakes and cause himself more trouble later in the race.
Riding on board with Kanaan.
Kanaan trying to make a move on Marco. He gets down the inside and he's there, but Marco takes the high line rodeo style around the outside and holds him off.
It's what we talked about at the start of the race. If you can hold side by side in 3 on the outside, you have the advantage at the left-hand kink.
That's really impressive that they're able to get through that without making contact.
Kanaan is clear now.
I tried that once.
How'd that go for you?
Ended up in the wall.
Just once?
Look at J.R. Hildebrand now working Marco Andretti.
Looks like Kanaan got by Andretti, so he finally worked him over as Hildebrand has now moved up to the tail of Andretti.
And remember, Hildebrand crashed in qualifying, but it was the second round of qualifying, so he still was able to start in the 12th position.
Seems like, though, here at Toronto is a bit of a turning point for Ed Carpenter Racing. Spencer Pigot's had a pretty solid weekend with good pace. Hildebrand running in the top 10 now. They've really struggled this season on street circuits and road courses, but they told me they came with a fresh setup approach, and they really feel like they're starting to get the handle on things. They certainly have it on the ovals, but they needed this kind of performance here.
Well, remember, everything is new this year. Not only did they lose Josef Newgarden, but they lost 2 of their engineers as well, including Jeremy Millis. So, yeah, they still had the setups and data, but they had to do some things starting over.
And Spencer Pigot's there in the dark green Fuzzy's car working to hold off rookie Ed Jones.
Guy back here is making some moves. I just saw Saavedra has moved up a few positions and is on the tail end of these guys back here.
Well, we have, Townsend, already seen contact early in this race, and that is nothing new on the concrete jungle here, the streets of Toronto. Many over the years. PT has referenced a couple of run-ins. We saw him and Elio coming together a few years back. And in 2011, we had a couple of championship contenders also coming together as we ride on board for the moment with James Hinchcliffe. He is running in the 5th position. That's Alexander Rossi right behind him in 6th. Everyone has been chasing Elio Castroneves. He got the jump in turn 1. Here's Rossi trying to look around the outside. Not going to be able to get it done that time in turn number 3, but he's still lurking.
Be interesting to see what how the pace changes, Townsend. It's right now they're running 101.7s. They qualified, pole was a 58, so these tires, the reds, they say go away pretty quickly. So they're going to switch. Right now they're pacing themselves, trying to get these tires to last. And when they go to the blacks on the next stop, it'll be interesting to see how much the pace ratchets up.
So Ganassi and Penske have come together in the opening moments. This long-term rivalry heats up, and they have had moments before, including here on this layout. 2011, Dario Franchitti in the red Target car, the black and white Verizon car. That's Will Power.
Looked like a nice chrome horn there from Franchitti. Power gets turned around, no side-by-side action there.
And this is today. Power in the silver Verizon car, and Scott Dixon in the blue and white NTT Data car. Still working to repair. Will Power many laps down. His teammate Castroneves is in front. Jay Leno's back on CNBC. Living large, living fast, and living the dream. Jay Leno's Garage, Wednesdays at 10 on CNBC. Recently he featured Scott Dixon, Sam Schmidt in that semi-autonomous car. He was at the Phoenix IndyCar weekend. Did we see any rain on that lens as we look at the CN Tower? The Firestone rain tires are here and ready, and we've had a little bit of moisture again. We had a light rain about an hour ago. Right now we are clean and green, and Elio Castroneves has led since turn 1 of the opening lap. Jan.
And you're talking about Elio Castroneves, and here's an amazing thing for Elio. He chose a setup. He could have gone with what Simon Pagenaud had, which is a good one-lap setup, but he said, I'm giving up something on these reds, and my car is a rocket ship on the blacks. Right now, he's biding his time. He says, I'm very consistent. So this should be the weakest part of the race, is for Castroneves, knowing that the next stop he'll take those black primaries and should be even faster, and the pit window is very shortly to open. I figure lap 24 is when he can stop.
Well, these 4 guys, Townsend, have rocketed away from the field. Look at the gap back to the next group. The next group is led by Hinchcliffe, and he's got a train of guys behind him. So he's holding up these guys, and the front 4 guys, and the only guy in there with a Honda is Graham Rahal that's keeping pace. They are checked out on this group.
Well, Alexander Rossi there in the red and blue 98 is looking fiercely competitive, and he's been burning up his push to pass, trying to make something happen. He's used almost 50 of the 200 seconds available, and I think he'll be on the button again as they come through turn 1 and down the back straightaway. Oh, look at this, Piggott, wow.
Big move, Piggott in the Chevy. Here comes Andretti coming back on him, but he's the only Chevy in this whole group. This whole pack right here is all Hondas.
So Spencer Piggott around Marco Andretti gets up to 9th position. That's the second pack. Here's Rossi taking a look to the outside of James Hinchcliffe once again, and right behind him, Takuma Sato tried to take a peek, couldn't get around Rossi.
I wonder if some of Rossi's urgency is the fact that his teammate got into the back of him on the start. He might want to get away from Sato and keep pushing, but both those Andretti cars are pretty quick, and then further back it seems like Marco Andretti has settled in and found the pace, along with the hard-charging Spencer Piggott.
Spencer Piggott now all over the back of Kanaan. He's gapped Andretti. Ed Jones moves up to the back of Andretti. So these guys are all frantic to get by each other here.
I enjoy looking at the seconds of push to pass remaining at the point of the race like this, because it's always the young guys. Spencer Piggott, Connor Daly, Alexander Rossi. It's like my kids at a movie theater with a box of Skittles. They rifle through them in the first 5 minutes.
You guys are talking about Spencer Piggott in that corner last time, how aggressive. Remember, he is the only driver who chose to start on the blacks. Now you talk about that big bunch, Paul, all being Hondas. He is the only one on the blacks. As those reds wear, he should be faster, and he's showing it now, that kind of pace.
Ed Jones gets by Marco Andretti there on the back straightaway, a nice move.
And I'll tell you what, as we saw that straightaway shot, the marbles from these reds coming onto the front straightaway there's a ton, so you do not want to get offline or miss your line coming out onto the lakeshore, because you get in those marbles, Townsend, and it'll just skate you right over in the wall.
And at race speed, it's oftentimes very difficult for the driver to pick up the marbles until it's too late, as Piggott's making another move. Just as you said, Jan, those blacks have come alive at this point in the stint. He is flying.
Spencer Piggott is on the charge, up to 8th place right now, and he's still moving forward. Now he's thinking about Takuma Sato, the Indianapolis 500 winner in the 26 car, right in front of him.
We watch as they come to turn 1, if we can get a shot here.
Good job.
As they come out, I'll show everybody where these marbles are, where if you get offline, it'll carry you right out into the wall. As we come, look at that. Look at all those marbles coming out on the front straightaway. All the way down the straightaway.
Meanwhile, the leaders have checked out. The front 4 are nearly 13 seconds in front. Newgarden in 4th is 11, 12, 13 seconds in front of James Hinchcliffe, as we see more slicing and dicing, and the teammates are going at it.
And he's going to make a move right there. I thought Spencer was going to get Sato as he got sideways coming up off turn 3 hairpin.
Well, nowhere in the phrase "no attack, no chance" does team appear.
Oh, he's got a run. He just got a nice run. Spencer Piggott off the corner. Watch this.
The green car inside. Takuma Sato looking for 7th position. He'll make it work.
I was going to say that's a low probability spot for a pass, but he absolutely makes it work, and Piggott should chew up Hinchcliffe here on this next lap as Rossi goes to pit lane.
He's passed 2 cars on 2 laps in a row in that spot, and that's one of the tightest sections of the track.
And Ryan Hunter-Reay is massively loose. He's taking some wing out of that car, putting scuffed black tires on it, hoping for a better run. His last lap in was 2 seconds slower than that of the leader.
Tell you what, if Piggott can get by Hinchcliffe here, it's going to be in the top 5, Paul, with a chance of rain coming. Could be a huge day.
I think you keep going. I think the blacks are good. If you've got the fuel, look at Ed. Goes down the inside of, what a move by Ed Jones.
On Tony Kanaan, the 20-year veteran. And here's Piggott working on the hometown hero for 5th.
Watch this. This is his good corner right here. Watch the drive he gets off this corner. I bet he's going to make, he's on him. Look at that. Push to pass is on. Watch.
Oh,
down
boy.
the inside.
Wow, look at the brakes on fire. The carbon glowing. Nice move as Hinch comes to pit lane and Piggott's gone.
From 13th to 5th, just like that in the first segment for Spencer Piggott.
3 laps in a row he made that move on 3 separate guys.
Hinchcliffe is in for his stop. Kanaan in front of him. We saw Max Chilton, one of those that pitted not too far back in front of Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Jan Beek has called that all these guys want to get off the softer red tires as fast as possible. Certainly after they watch Spencer Piggott and his pace, everybody will want to go to the harder black tires.
Now the leaders are hoping that it stays green and a lockup for Kanaan, and he's going to go up. And are we going to get a yellow? And are the leaders going to be in trouble because they stayed out? That's Castroneves, Pagenaud, Rahal, and Newgarden. We have a full course caution.
That was on his outlap coming out of the pits. He wanted a big exit. Look at that. He got the yellow. We don't know if he got the yellow in time.
So Newgarden gets in. He dodges the bullet.
And this could be catastrophic for Castroneves, Pagenaud, and Rahal that stayed out on track. They are going to go to the back of the field. And Piggott, who's still out.
Remember last year when the yellow came out, you always look when a yellow comes out. If anybody's on pit lane or has just pitted, big time advantage. Last year, the second stop, it was Power on pit lane, and it was Dixon that was disadvantaged.
So Kanaan leaves the pits. He's going to go try to make the best outlap he can. He goes for big entry speed. Cold tire, he's locked up way early. And he was locked up for 100 yards, Townsend, before he even got down to the corner.
Well, and so bumpy there, so cold tires, and he will absolutely be kicking himself. Let's watch again. Let's listen.
1 car off 11.
I think all 4 tires
Clear
are
behind.
He's trying everything. He's downshifting. He's hoping. You're praying at that point. Anything to stay out of the tire wall.
And he had a decent enough gap that he
was racing racing all of those guys for position right there. But the problem now they're going to pull him out. He'll probably be a lap down. But those tires are flat spotted. Robin.
Go ahead, Robin.
I'm on. Now it's working.
Okay.
I can hear somebody.
Go ahead.
I can hear somebody. Okay. Will, you haven't seen the crash yet, so we're going to show you. And you thought you probably got pushed over, maybe.
Yeah, I went down the outside of Scott, and I don't know, someone was on the inside of him, and he moved out pretty quickly, and unfortunately we end up in the wall. Oh.
So is that his normal line to set up, and it surprised you?
It would surprise me when he moved out, yes. Oh man, I should know better to never ever even take any sort of risk when it's the first lap. It's just not worth it.
So here, oh yeah, that was already after contact. So the thing's amazing how much damage just a crash like that can do.
Yeah, I mean it broke the steering arm, it broke the steering rod, and then I had no steering. So unfortunate, man. Really, really makes it tough in the championship now. Just unfortunate.
Might have got some help with that yellow though, because the first 3 guys, Elio got caught out.
Yeah, I mean all the guys that that were fighting in the championship are at the front. So yeah, you know, I'm just feel bad for my guys. They put all this effort in, and on the first lap, didn't even complete the first lap, and you know, I'm out. So yeah, it's a bad day.
All right, we'll get back in the fight, kid. Kevin?
So Will Power was 4th in the championship. As it stands now, he's 89 back in 7th. Here they all come. Pits are open down pit lane as we watch Josef Newgarden, that orange car, come through to, I think, take over the lead. We start with Katie.
And Elio got around Simon Pagenaud. They're not panicking yet. He's going to go to some blacks to fix the understeer. Meanwhile, Grant Rahal, he said he's good, but he's stuck in a little bit of traffic. And up to Jan.
Castroneves finishes his stop. That was a nice stop for Castroneves. A little bit slow on the getaway. Very tight conditions leaving pit road. And here's what I can tell you about the strategy. It is definite that for those who did not pit, it puts them back. But Paul and Townsend, one thing interesting, they are only now back behind those who did choose to pit. So it was not the entire field that they got caught out, similar to Scott Dixon last year. Certainly this puts Castroneves back, but he definitely is still in with a fighting chance.
Look at how tight it is on pit lane. Piggott fighting with Sato to get to the break. It is so tight there. He forces him out over that yellow line. But the race officials told us if someone's forced there, there won't be any penalty, I think, in a situation like that.
Well, right now, Newgarden has a big advantage.
Josef Newgarden got in before the yellow. He is the leader under caution at Toronto. Back to green in Toronto as they go through turn number 1. Elio Castroneves was leading. It's all shuffled back. He's all the way back in 14th. It's Josef Newgarden out front, followed by Ed Jones, who is yet to pit. Charlie Kimmel pitted very early. Will have to also come in soon. Kimmel looking on Jones for second there. Further back, it's Rossi and Hinchcliffe in 4th and 5th.
With that massive point swing right now, Scott Dixon is ahead of Castroneves, and he is back in the points lead. They did not lose a lap with those repairs, as we see Scott here running in 12th, and Castroneves 3 positions behind him. Huge. So it's huge for him. He's got to try to stay ahead of Castroneves.
Exactly what Dixon needed after the penalty and the damage. He stays on the lead lap, and now with, again, chance of moisture coming, really could help out Dixon. As we wide on board with Castroneves, he's behind Saavedra, who was having a little bit of issue under yellow. Looks like Saavedra's running all right now. All these guys on the black tires except for Jones and Munoz.
Newgarden starting to check out on Ed Jones. These guys are all on old used tires, and Newgarden is on fresh black. So right now, Newgarden doesn't need to go crazy because all his competitors are 10, 12 positions behind him that he's got to worry about. What he's got to do is conserve the tires, make fuel mileage. Look at these guys racing back here.
Jones getting around Kimmel in the blue and white colors this weekend. That's Charlie Kimmel in the 83, falling back to 3rd position.
And they're on the same strategy, Jones and Kimmel. They'll have to pit soon. Alexander Rossi, the blue and red car behind Kimmel, is going to be trying to catch Newgarden there.
Well, we saw some raindrops on the camera down there at the end of the lakeshore. So if it starts to rain harder, all of these guys are going to be pitting for tires if it rains as Kimmel gets by Ed.
Actually, he was trying to get around Ed, now does get around him.
Well, that's why Kimmel and Ed Jones will stay out as long as possible, hoping for rain, because then that'll bring the whole field in at the same time. It'll reset the deck, and they'll be back on the lead strategy.
Meanwhile, Josef Newgarden is loving these cars behind him on old tires, holding everyone up. He's stretching it out just a little bit. Alexander Rossi and James Hinchcliffe are the next that have come in and made their stops.
Yes, and you see Spencer Piggott making that stop. We also heard that Takuma Sato, he rolls into position, has some front wing damage and a flat tire.
Alexander Rossi trying to go outside of Ed Jones, and Jones just drives him over, gives him nowhere to go.
Gave him a little hip check there, kind of moved him over to the tire, and he said, hey, you're not coming around the outside.
Well, Ed Jones is a rookie, but I'm sure he's been studying film from all the previous years, and he knows if I drive the guy over far, he'll have no chance to come back as Hinchcliffe continues to work on Rossi.
In 5th right now, and many different strategies in play. We talked about Dixon back in it now, running in 11th, but he's on a different pit cycle than many others, and he's going to have to come in earlier than, say, Josef Newgarden does. So he's not safely back mid-pack or better at this point. He might have to take an extra stop.
Watch for Rossi here. He got a nice run off the last corner, but he's got to stay tight here and get on that push to pass. He might have a nice run here to get him down at the end of the straight.
Got to watch out to pass. Hinchcliffe has a better run on Rossi, so Rossi trying to make a move on Jones, but here comes Hinchcliffe.
Oh, which way do I go? Do I go left? Do I go right? Oh, I go around and cut back in front, Townsend.
Rossi just hangs on to it. Rossi locked up the right front. He's 2 cars ahead there and just hung on to make the corner. Nice move.
I can't believe how far he outbraked him. He outbraked him and then turned back in front of him before the corner.
That's the advantage of having much fresher Firestone tires than Ed Jones, who's hanging on. He has almost 30 laps. 30 laps exactly on those soft reds. Let's watch this again. Here comes Rossi, red and blue car. Looks low, looks high, and just absolutely cuts off Jones as they get to the apex.
So Rossi on the move, up to third. He's been quick at times. Remember at Long Beach, he was in position for the podium or better before late mechanical problems. He has a chance to maybe become our 10th different winner so far this season. Newgarden is one of those that has one further back. That's Sebastian Saavedra in his first start outside of the Indianapolis 500 since the end of the 2015 season. He's in the Lucas Oil number 7 car making a move.
And that's a patch for 12th from Saavedra. It is so hard to do what he's doing, Paul, to show up cold turkey, no practice, no testing, as Daly and Dixon are side by side.
Look at this, Saavedra is still in front of Pagenaud and Castroneves, so these guys are having a tough time getting through these guys that are in the backfield. They were gone, long gone from all these guys earlier in the race, and now they can't find a way by.
Castroneves restarted in 14th. He's now in 15th. Pagenaud got by him. Dixon is back up inside the top 10 now after that move on Daly. The train we see there is Ed Jones, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and beyond. Jones in the 19 car, leading that pack. Yellow DHL car, Ryan Hunter-Reay. He runs an 8th right now.
How about Carlos Munoz hanging in there in the number 14 red, white, and blue AJ Foyt car. Munoz, though, has burned up well more than half of his push and pass.
He's on it again as well.
All these guys are on the button, Paul. That back straightaway at Toronto just tempts everybody into using more power to defend or attack.
Oh, it's going to be a tight one there. He runs him wide. Look at that. He runs him wide, and Marco gets by, takes advantage of that. So Ed Jones pushed him way wide, and that opened the door for Marco to slide up the inside of Carlos. And that will annoy you when that happens.
You work so hard. Takes you several laps sometimes to catch someone, and if you make a little bobble and somebody ducks inside you, it is, like you said, Paul, really frustrating to give up the spot. There goes Ed Jones to pit lane, finally.
Yeah, he pits from 5th. You didn't do that to me very often. You do that once, you get the chrome horn the next lap. So it's a good thing he pulled in.
I remember doing it once to you, and all I wanted to do was get the heck away from you because I knew it was going to come back on me.
Oh, look at Saavedra sliding down the inside of Connor Daly. This guy in his first race making moves.
And remember how slow and how far off the pace he was in that first practice session. 3 seconds behind. Got better every single session.
Here comes Connor Daly. He's going to try to go back. Saavedra's blocking to the inside. Connor looking to the outside.
Not that time. Saavedra holds off that position. And again, this might just be a one-race situation. AFS and Gary Peterson has come on board with Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports for this race, but the word is they just wanted Mikhail Aloshin to sit down, take a step back. Too many crashes this season, but we expect to see him back in Mid-Ohio. There's the leader in that orange-white car.
And
it's Josef Newgarden.
I am amazed that he's able to stay with Josef because they pulled away so far in the beginning of the race, and Kimmel is sticking there right with him.
Paul, you and I had dinner last night with Mikhail Aloshin, who was replaced, as you said, Kevin, by Saavedra for this race. How would you characterize his feelings right now?
Well, I would say he's a little bit frustrated, and I guess you could say he's a little bit frustrated. That's about all you can say.
Charlie Kimball in second. This was his first career podium in Toronto back in 2012 when he finished second. That's where he's at right now, and he's challenging a former winner here, Josef Newgarden. It's Newgarden, Kimball, Rossi, Hinchcliffe, and Marco Andretti running 5th. Can the young American from Tennessee win again? Great stuff here in Toronto, the only visit outside of America for the Verizon IndyCar Series. The CN Tower, 147 stories, third largest structure in the world, overlooking this fantastic venue this weekend. Bumpy but highly entertaining, and we have been entertained so far with Josef Newgarden in front right now.
And look at
on
Rossi.
nonstop, you saw Scott Dixon pit.
Rossi has closed the gap all the way across to Newgarden. He is flying.
The gap was 4 seconds, Newgarden to Rossi. Now it's 2 seconds. So Rossi doing a great job to close. Wonder if Newgarden kind of managing fuel, knows he's got the buffer with Charlie Kimmel behind him. But for sure, Rossi's pace has been exceptional. We expect Charlie Kimmel to come in any lap now.
Rossi hit it on lap 3.
Is the fastest guy on the track right now by far.
Well, fastest lap of the race, Scott Dixon, but on that last lap, you're right, that was a quick one from Rossi. Here comes Charlie Kimmel.
So he got 6 laps of yellow to stretch it a little bit, but he had to come in, Katie.
This is Charlie Kimball's second stop of the day. He first pitted on lap 4. This time they're going to go to those Firestone Black and wait for some adjustments from the team. A turn of front wing. Kevin?
So he will shuffle back significantly, and he will need a caution to fall in his favor again to be able to cycle up front. So Alexander Rossi now moves up to second. He's under 2 seconds from Josef Newgarden. Let's see if he can chase him down.
He really should be able to, because that lap, Paul, he took a half a second out of Newgarden, and he had dirty air with Kimmel in front of him.
Yeah, he was really battling hard with that whole group of guys that were back there. He finally got around, and he just took off from everybody. He gapped them and has closed the gap now down to Newgarden. So when he gets there, as we see Kanaan, both of these guys on the push to pass against Gutierrez, comes down the outside again, challenges back. But you're not going to get it done from out there, and it was wise of him to back off, because that guy, after the wreck yesterday, just needs to finish for Dale Coyne.
Well, and Tony Kanaan is also 2 laps down, so that is not for position right now. Now, Scott Dixon, after contact on the opening lap with Will Power, is on the lead lap. He has made his second stop. He is in 17th right now, working on Carlos Munoz right in front of him.
And Dixon will need to stop again, but short stinted on that last stop to try and get lucky on a yellow. If the yellow comes, that'll help Dixon out. He'll be right to the front if everybody pits and back on the same strategy. So fingers crossed. Remember, last year it was an untimely yellow that hurt Dixon. Now he's in a position to advantage from that if it happens. Rossi continues to close, now a second and a half back from Newgarden.
We saw Connor Daly duck onto pit lane there. And look at the gap shortening. Alexander Rossi is closing in a little bit on Josef Newgarden.
Hometown hero James Hinchcliffe is 6.5 seconds back from Rossi, now in 3rd place on the podium so far. So that would be a good day for him if he could get on the podium again like last year.
You know, Paul, we spent time last week with Alexander Rossi in Iowa, and I think, you know, kind of the best way to sum up the conversation for me was just frustration. Rossi said, we're so much better than last year, as we see some debris on the track. Rossi said, we're so much better on street and road courses, but we have nothing to show for it. This could be the day.
Marco Andretti going through turn 1. He winds it out onto the Lakeshore Boulevard. His teammate is right behind him. So, but the Andretti guys right now, 2nd, 4th, 5th. So much, much better than they were qualified.
Sometimes you'll see that on a track like Toronto, a temporary street circuit where the grip level changes so much from the start to the end of the race. If you don't quite have the right setup, sometimes it can come to you. As the track rubbers in and the track grips up, your spring rate, your roll bar settings, etc., can really find a sweet spot.
We looked at the overhead ticker there. The Rahal, Castroneves, Pagano are still behind Saavedra and 2 seconds behind Saavedra, who's currently in 7th. As we look at these guys right here, they just don't seem to be in any urgency to go forward for some reason, Townsend.
Well, I think these corners are all quick enough at Toronto where the downforce matters, and when downforce matters, it's very difficult with turbulent air, especially that final corner right there, which Graham Rahal just went through. It's faster than it was last year. It creates a harder situation for following the car ahead.
Well, it shows you how competitive the whole field is. You jumble up the field, and guys at the back are just as competitive as the guys at the front. So these 3 cars right here were rocketing away from the field, and now they're in the back, and they can't even seem to move forward.
They were your top 3, but disadvantaged when the caution came out. They had not taken their first stop yet. Castroneves was the early leader. He runs in 9th behind Pagano. Graham Rahal back there in 10th.
And I asked the same question, why is Castroneves not moving forward? There's been radio conversation between he and Roger Penske, and this one was coded. He said, mission 10, you're doing exactly what we want. Those who pitted when they did cannot just go full bore on fuel. So I think the reason you're seeing people not move forward is they're having to drive to a fuel number. People like Alexander Rossi, we know he can make good fuel economy. Those are the guys that are moving forward. Those that are struggling for fuel.
3.2 plus 1.2.
And there you go, giving a fuel number from Penske himself.
Mission 10.
Interesting stuff. A lot of things still to develop in this race. Right now, Newgarden in front, but Castroneves is not done. He is the subject of our Chevy driver profile. We know of him from Dancing with the Stars. Well, like father, like daughter.
So this is Michaela getting ready for her presentation at school, and she's doing a little bit of one of those shows and Ghostbusters, and it's really funny. I couldn't believe I was there watching it. Michaela, this is for you. 10 from Castroneves.
She's really good, but sometimes daddies are a little bit biased, so anything less than 10, he would have been in trouble when he got home. Well, Elio looked like he might be in position to win for the second week in a row. He's still got some work to do. Newgarden in front in Toronto. Quite a few storylines to follow here at the Honda Indy Toronto. From exhibition place, Josef Newgarden is the leader, and look at the gap that he has right there. 2.5 seconds in front of Alexander Rossi. James Hinchcliffe is running in third. That's the lap car of Spencer Pigot, who just came in for the third time a moment ago that you saw on nonstop. That's Rossi, not for position, right behind him in the red and blue car. He is second in this race.
For Spencer Pigot, as you see right now, we'll see if Rossi, who should be much faster, can get by him. First of all, he had contact with Sato. When we saw Sato and Pigot stop at the same time, they hit each other. Then he decided to go with the red sidewall, the alternates, mid-race. It just did not work for Spencer Pigot. So as you said and saw nonstop, he just came to the pit road, it put him back, and now he's on the blacks, but has a long way to go.
And then about 5 seconds behind them is James Hinchcliffe, who finished on the podium last year. Here he comes in the Aero car, right now in position for the podium again this year.
James all alone. He's gapped the guys that he's with, but Rossi has had to back down his pace. He chased down Newgarden, and they told him, hey, we got to save some fuel if we're going to do this on one more stop. And now he's 4 seconds behind Newgarden, so he's had to back it way down.
Well, if anybody knows how to save fuel, Rossi would be the guy. Your Indy 500, the Indy 500 winner last year, 2016, did it all on fuel savings, clutch and coast, as his teammates Andretti and Hunter-Reay are looking pretty solid back there. They're about 10 seconds back of Rossi, but the pace is pretty decent.
Right now for Andretti, this would be a great shot in the arm if he was able to stay here in the top 4, top 5. That would be a good result for him. It's been a struggle this year. He's had flashes of speed as we follow him in our overhead camera here, our blimp cam. He's had speed at certain times, but just hasn't put the qualifying together, and he had a good qualifying here in Toronto, and his pace in the race has been really good.
A podium finish would be huge for Marco Andretti. And he doesn't point. You know what I love about Marco this year is he doesn't point fingers. He's just saying, listen, it's on me. I can do a better job. We've had some mechanicals, but he's really taken ownership of it. And he's got Brian Herta on the stand this year, which has made a big difference. So maybe today's the breakthrough day for Marco Andretti.
Meanwhile, another big story from today was in the opening lap. 2 championship contenders, the leaders, Scott Dixon, who's still in the race on the lead lap, and Will Power made contact. Power was 4th in the championship, 53 back. We've now been told they have given up trying to get him prepared back in this race. Even if they did, he's not going to pick up positions at this point because we're already past the midpoint and no one else has dropped out. So Will Power is going to finish last, 21st, and at the moment he is 60 points out of the championship.
But the great thing, and we said this at the start of the season about this being the most competitive IndyCar season we've ever seen,
those top 4 drivers with Castroneves, Newgarden, and Simon Pagenaud are closer now than they've been all season in points with 5 races to go.
Would have been even a bigger drop for power had Castroneves stayed out in front. Now he may eventually get back there. Still at least one more pit stop to go and potentially rain in the area too. Stay with us. Josef Newgarden looking for win number 2 for Team Penske. You're watching NBC's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Allstate Motorcycle Insurance. Are you in good hands? And by TireRack.com. Find, deliver, install smarter Tire Rack. Well, we know motorsports is huge in Canada, but I think hockey is fairly popular as well. A couple of NHL players here this weekend. James Hinchcliffe also visiting the NHL exhibit. We saw, by the way, Adam Henrique of the New Jersey Devils and Christian Thomas from the Washington Capitals. And is the weather coming in? Paul, you are a local resident and you've got a smartphone. What's going to happen?
Well, I'm looking at the radar on my phone, and there is a big cell coming that's red and pink. So the question is, do you pit or not pit?
I think somebody's going to take a chance, like Gutierrez right there coming out of pit lane. Pit now, see if you can luck out on a yellow and avoid the rain coming, and you might luck out under that yellow.
Well, the issue you have there is if you pit now and go to the back of the field and then it rains, you're going to be coming back in again for rain tires. So it's almost like a double whammy. So,
well, when's it going to rain?
You don't know. I think I would just keep going and wait for raindrops.
Sebastian Saavedra is going out of sequence here again. This would be a play potentially for rain. This takes you out. This is too early to make it all the way home if it were to stay dry. Again, it's been a great drive for him. He said the beginning of this weekend was information overload. And he said through the help of his friend James Hinchcliffe, he's getting on board. And what a great day so far for Saavedra.
So 32 laps to go. I think Saavedra could make it to the end with the yellow, which is what you're gambling on. We understand the leaders in. Here's Newgarden.
And Josef Newgarden is expecting no changes on that car. Just 4 new black tires, some Sunoco fuel, everything looking great here for Josef Newgarden. Katie?
And Alexander Rossi also making his second stop of the day. They chose to look after the tires rather than chase down Josef Newgarden. He's going to go for blacks for this last stint.
And Newgarden had to avoid James Hinchcliffe. Did you see that there? He had to get on it a little bit on board Hinchcliffe as he's making his stop. So the top 3 have all come in. Now it depends whether we get a yellow or not. But advantage to these drivers, they are safe from the yellow for the next little while.
If it stays dry.
Correct. And if nobody makes a mistake like Tony Kanaan on cold tires getting up to speed. So we got to watch that. You can easily get in these bumps on stickers and lock it up or get together just like those two right there as Hinchcliffe or Hildebrand kind of pinches off the front.
Watch this.
Call here.
On board with Hinchcliffe. Here comes Newgarden. That was close. Newgarden trying to blend to the high line as Hinchcliffe's coming in. There's just not enough room on pit lane. You have to give and take. Newgarden was smart there to hold up.
We saw our first stops under yellow earlier on and no issues. We were a little worried about that after they changed the pit lane last year. As Castroneves comes in, and all of the pit stops last year were under green. These stops are also under green.
And the interesting thing is that this one lap, this must be mission 10. Go one more lap. He should be okay saving some fuel. I agree with Townsend. People like Saavedra, those who stopped just one lap ago, they can make it to the end under extreme fuel save. For Castroneves, see, they're going to wait for every last driver. That 7.8 second stop for Castroneves.
Let's see where he comes out. In and out laps, so critical. There's Castroneves in the back. Hunter Ray is in front of him. Chilton is in the blue and light blue car. And then one of the Foyt cars, that is Munoz, that'll tuck him right behind Castroneves.
Well, he was battling Saavedra for much of that stint, so he's beat Saavedra, but his teammates, Rahal and Pagenaud, now as the leader, have not pitted yet. So let's see where they come out if they pit on the next lap.
Newgarden is in second after his stop, and only 5 seconds behind Pagenaud, who'll still need to pit again. Here's Graham Rahal, an early contender that got shuffled back because of the caution, making his second stop, Katie.
He did not want to be caught out this time, Kevin, so Graham Rahal making his second stop of the day. He has been in fuel save mode for these last few laps, but he's going to be let loose on this last stint and fill it up with Sunoco fuel.
one extra lap. Pagenaud's going 2 extra laps, so let's see where he comes out. He did not beat Castroneves out. He's way behind Castroneves.
Yeah, Rahal falls way back.
How frustrating. How fast has he been this weekend? Qualified second, was running in the top 3 early in the race, but the top 3 had not pitted when the first caution in the pit window came out.
Well, the last guy is Pagenaud, who's still on track, and he's going to pit here. Here he comes right now, so let's see where he comes out. He went 2 laps further than the guys that he was running against. Luckily, he didn't catch a yellow.
And they wanted to stay out those 2 extra laps to get Simon back out in front in the rest of the field. He's going to fill it up with Sunoco fuel. No changes for this last stint, but a little bit of long step to fill it all the way up, and he'll cycle back out. Kevin?
Josef Newgarden is long gone. Alexander Rossi goes by. James Hinchcliffe goes by. Scott Dixon right there in the blue car going by, and Marco Andretti as well.
Well, that was an advantage for Pagenaud. He must have had much better in-lap than Rahal, because he beat Rahal out by a ton.
He's going to have a hard time holding off Ryan Hunter-Reay, who's on hot tires and on the button. Ryan Hunter-Reay charging down the back straightaway, has to be careful of those marbles. Pagenaud will defend fiercely here.
This is for 6. Hunter-Reay to the inside. Got it done pretty simply.
And how many times have we seen Pagenaud take the high probability decision to preserve points? Pagenaud always smart in heavily contested situations about protecting his equipment and making sure he finishes.
It may not play out today, but I was struck by something he said after he won the pole yesterday, is we figured something out with our brakes. We haven't been right all year, and yet he was still 3rd in the championship. I would say look out for Simon Pagenaud.
Oh, well, listen to this, guys. Scott Dixon is in 4th place and now has a 17-point lead over Castroneves with all the trouble he had on the first lap, but he still has to make a pit stop.
He's going to have to pit probably about in the next 5 to 10 laps, and unless he gets lucky with rain or something, it's going to be really tough for Dixon to finish in the top 5.
That is his only hope. If it rains before he needs to pit and everyone has to come in, then he can be where he's at.
Correct.
And that is certainly a possibility.
How's your smartphone looking?
Well, let's take a look. I'll pull up the weather right now, but look at how black those clouds are.
I want you to look out the window. You're the local expert.
Get a high shot here and look at the horizon, and the sky is black, so there's certainly no sun anywhere.
There's Scott Dixon, 4th at the moment.
There it is. Coming out of the west.
Up top, you see the intervals. Josef Newgarden by 3 seconds on Alexander Rossi, another 5 seconds back to James Hinchcliffe, Dixon, Andretti, Hunter-Reay, Pagenaud, Chilton, Castroneves, and Saavedra, the top 10 at Toronto. Watch every IndyCar and NBC race online, on tablet, and connected TV devices with the NBC Sports app. Download the app or find out more at NBCSports.com. A lot of interesting developments here, and certainly wild early racing. This is the start on board with Elio Castroneves starting 3rd.
Full attack mode up the inside of Pagenaud, surprises everybody to take the early lead.
Scott Dixon gets bottled up with Graham Rahal, jukes over to the right, hits with power, power bounces off of him, hits the wall really hard. He puts him out of the race.
Power will finish last. Dixon has been trying to fight his way back. Meanwhile, several had already pitted, but the top 3 had not. When Tony Kanaan, coming off pit lane, could not make the corner in turn number 1, our second caution. But look who is on pit lane right as the caution came out. Josef Newgarden. Like last year, Tim Cindric made the call for Will Power. This year, he makes it and beats the yellow for Newgarden.
I'm telling you what's happening right now is we see Newgarden now has checked out on Rossi. He's got a 3-second lead. Castroneves, after all of this, has sorted out in 8th place behind Chilton. So the Ganassi squad has got to tell Chilton that they've got to give Castroneves a hard time, because Dixon now is in 11th, 3 places behind Castroneves.
While we watch Newgarden lead Rossi by 3 seconds, it's great to see a friend back at the racetrack this weekend. Sebastian Bourdais is here, and he's with Robin.
Well, 8 weeks ago, this guy was flat on his back in Indianapolis thinking, okay, I don't like broken bones, but he made a promise. He said, I'll be back before Sonoma. He lied. He's probably going to be back at Watkins Glen. Kids, great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Obviously, I'd rather be in the car, but yeah, it's good to be back on both feet.
Do you think your recovery had a lot to do with the fact that you're young and you're in great shape and you had this desire to, I mean, you made a comeback awfully fast, it seems like.
I don't know. I mean, you would have to ask a doctor, but you know, for sure, things have gone up to plan. So it was 6 weeks for weight bearing. We took an X-ray at 6.5 and looked good. So then from there, it was off the crutches and, you know, get on with the program. So it was that was the most stressful part, to know where we were at and the bones were healing the way they were supposed to.
You told us a few weeks ago, I don't want to stay around all winter and have people ask me, you're going to come back. So your goal was to get back, and now it looks like even if you get this test at Mid-Ohio in a couple weeks, you'll be back made by at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, the test after the Mid-Ohio race is a little bit earlier than I would have wanted to, but at the end of the day, if I don't make this one, it's probably not going to be a test at all, and I really don't want to have Dale hire people and, you know, get a crew together for a third car if I'm not up for it. So you know, we'll evaluate there, and then if we need and have the opportunity to have another one, then we will. But at least it'll be a good indication where I'm at right now, and I feel fine. So I'm not expecting, you know, major issues, but still good to get back in the car and feel it out.
All right, it's good to see you. And he's only, this is just a prop, this cane, because he don't need it. He's doing that for Terry Trammell, and he wants to hit me with it, Kevin.
To keep pesky reporters away if he doesn't like the line of questioning. We've seen some good battles. Ryan Hunter-Reay right there running in 5th. Pagenaud's picked up another spot. 6th getting around Chilton. Castroneves on board with Tony Kanaan, a couple of laps down, and also his teammate Scott Dixon made a stop. There's Dixon right there a moment ago, so he made his final stop, and he came back out in 11th position.
And Tony Kanaan goes hard right to let his teammate Scott Dixon go by. Earned just another championship point, and he almost goes off, does Scott Dixon.
Wow, he's gave him away, but he's lucky he didn't get into the tires right there. But Tony Kanaan is 2 laps down, so that's a very, very good move by Tony. It's a mistake there by Dixon, so that wasn't when the pass happened. As we watch this, oh, that's a big-time block right there. He moved in reaction on Pagenaud. It is under review right now, but look at Chilton right there on the back of the Penske car. So he's got Castroneves right behind him.
Hunter-Reay looking like a bobblehead, his head swerving left and right, looking in his mirrors. Pagenaud must be so frustrated because his car, Pagenaud's car, so fast on the blacks, and he has 3 laps more fuel in his car to burn to get to the end.
Car 28 in 1 reviewed, no action.
Oh, there you go, no action. That's fair game. So
let's hear on board from the 1 car with Simon Pagenaud what he had to say.
What's the story? I don't know nothing. Right now, you can go as hard as you want to, and if you can pass them, great. We've got a couple laps in the better than anybody else out there on fuel.
not only that, Pagenaud has about 60 more seconds of push to pass to burn. So Hunter-Reay is going to be tough for him to hold him off.
Pagenaud pitted 3 laps later than the 5 in front of him. More to come from Toronto. Josef Newgarden continues to lead here at the Honda Indy Toronto. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kevin Lee, Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy, Jan Beekes, Katie Hargan, Anders Krohn, Robin Miller. Good crowd on hand. It's dry right now. It might rain any time, though, according to the radar. Guys, we've had a couple of interesting developments in this race to put Newgarden out in front.
Newgarden has Rossi under control. Both of these guys got to save a little bit of fuel, but Rossi's got 7 seconds on Hinchcliffe, and then there's a huge gap back to Andretti. But this is a good day for Andretti and the Honda guys. It looked like at the start of the weekend, it looked like it was going to be a runaway, Townsend, with the Penske guys.
Well, but look at Newgarden in terms of what he has left for push to pass. 171 seconds remaining. Nobody else is even close. So that tells me he's got a great car. He's just managing his gap. As we look at the Chevy driver update, currently first, his teammates Pagenaud and Castroneves in 6th and 8th. And Newgarden just flowing this track right now.
And the 4th Penske driver, Will Power, will finish last for the 4th time in his career, 3 times in 2008.
Last year was such a disappointment for him. It was questionable whether he was going to be able to run the race. He had a broken hand,
and got on the curbs over in turn 6, bounced up off the curbs and went right into the wall. So definitely redeeming himself this year. He's got the race under control right now.
Look at the championship points as they go. Castroneves, as they stand, would be 2 in back of Dixon. And just off the screen, Graham Rahal is still very much in the mix. He is 2 behind Will Power, who is already out of this race. Does anyone have anything for the captain's man, Josef Newgarden? Beautiful look at Lake Ontario, and in 2 weeks, IndyCar continues from the classic road course in Mid-Ohio. I think Scott Dixon is anxious to get there, a 5-time winner at Mid-Ohio. Graham Rahal will be happy to go home as well. He's won there 2 weeks' time. IndyCar continues round 13 of 17. Race 12 of the season is here today, and right now it's Josef Newgarden in command, almost 4 seconds in front of Alexander Rossi. James Hinchcliffe in position for his 2nd straight podium in his hometown, and then quite a ways back to Marco Andretti. There you see him. That's the battle for 4th, and then Hunter Ray 5th. Pagano right on him for 6th. And remember, 2 years ago, Josef Newgarden, then driving for Ed Carpenter Racing, took the wins here in a race that had some wets. We might see some wet before we're done here today. The radar looks like it could rain at any moment. It's ominous. But we are running out of laps, just over 10 remaining.
3.9 with 10 to go, 3.9 with 10 to go.
What do you think, Paul? We're going to see rain?
Well, I'm waiting for it at any second. Whoa, we've got a pass right there that just happened, but he's got a nice lead here, but he's coming up on lap traffic and a group of guys now that are fighting each other right here. So none of these guys are really going to want to concede to go a lap down. So this could become an issue with 10 to go.
Munoz and Jones and Daly.
Sato. Luckily for Newgarden.
Oh, these two have been fighting each other. I think Pagano just gave him a hip check. Saying,
oh, Hunter Ray gives it right back.
So I hope we get a replay of that. I think Pagano was quite annoyed by how hard it was to get by. He gave him a little side check, and Hunter Ray gave it back, but I think Pagano might be damaged now.
In a country that loves hockey, they're certainly embracing the lifestyle and the sporting spirit.
Race control has to determine if anyone goes to the penalty box.
Pagano on the push to pass. The door is open. He moved over into him, it looked like, for really no reason.
Gave him a little fade.
He got it back.
Well, Hunter Ray had been doing the impossible, as we see it from another angle. Hunter Ray trying to hold on with less fuel available to burn and less push to pass. He did a good job of holding off Newgarden, Pagano, as
it's Ed Jones.
And Jones was in that battle with Daly and Sato.
Looks like it might be terminal. He took the steering wheel off. They're saying there was some smoke, maybe an engine failure. We've got something coming out of the side pod there, some smoke, but we see him coming down the straight off song. So definitely something has gone wrong with his motor, but that would have been a good run for him. But that is going to move Dixon up another position, I think.
I think Jones is behind him in the running order, so Dixon still stands in 11th. There's our leader in that orange and white car. It's Josef Newgarden. Farther back, Alexander Rossi, the blue and red car. Connor Daly is a lap down, right in front of the leader. There's Rossi.
Well, here's the problem he's got. Do these guys play nice and just let Newgarden get by, or do you fight to stay on the lead lap? If he allows Rossi to close this gap, it could be problems, because Rossi has definitely got the bit between his teeth for a win.
Well, these guys are a lap down, so they should let Newgarden by, but...
Well, they're not a lap down yet. You know, the rule is you can fight to stay on the lead lap.
And with a chance of a yellow or rain, they're probably going to fight to stay on the lead lap, thinking I can still get a couple of positions if they bunch up again.
You're right. I was looking. Daly hadn't crossed start finish yet, so I haven't seen a lot of evidence of drivers given up or given anything up, especially it could rain at any second, guys. There's still 7 laps to go. That's more than 7 minutes.
Use the overtake if you have to. He has 171 seconds, over double of everybody in the field. So he's really hasn't even used it the whole race.
And it's toughest for the leader because these guys will all fight to stay in front of Josef Newgarden, but if he does get by them, then they'll likely concede knowing I'm a lap down and everyone else will get by them pretty quickly.
These are the times that you take mental notes of the guys that play nice and the ones that don't. When you come up at the end of a race on a guy and he decides I'm not letting you by, there's going to be a day when you're having a bad day and he comes up on you and you say, oh yeah, I remember that day.
Well, these two guys have known each other since they were teenagers. Anders?
And Tim Cindric made an inspired call last year to call Will Power in just before a full course yellow. You did it again today. It's looking like Josef's heading for victory lane today.
Yeah, we've still got 5 or 6 laps left here, like it happened in this traffic that we got here. So you never know until it's over, but he's done a great job all day managing the fuel and managing the gap. But we'll see how it all plays out.
Is he good on fuel?
It's close. It's close, but I think we'll be good.
All right, we'll see what shakes out here. Josef Newgarden leading this race by close to 4 seconds.
Interesting, if he's close, that means Rossi, Hinchcliffe, Marco Andretti, and Ryan Hunter-Reay are also close. Advantage Simon Pagenaud right there in 6th.
Pagenaud's recovered. He's on the push to, no push to pass yet, so he is definitely going to make another run. They were closing in on Andretti. Now Andretti has gotten away again from these two guys.
And Pagenaud burned up so much of his push to pass advantage just trying to close the gap and make a move on Hunter-Reay. Now Pagenaud 36 seconds, Hunter-Reay 12 seconds. So good job on Hunter-Reay's part to force Pagenaud to burn up this valuable seconds. Whoa, Hunter-Reay gets wide.
Hunter-Reay missed the entry and what ran wide, got out in the dirty part of the track. He's lucky he didn't crash and basically gave away the position to Pagenaud. And I think you'll see Pagenaud just take off now.
Any chance we're seeing sprinkles on that side of the track? Hunter-Reay really struggling.
There's something going on here with Hunter-Reay. He's sawing at the wheel, so I don't know if he got pickup on his tires, but right now he's hanging on for dear life.
That's Max Chilton right behind him.
Something's going on. Look, he got really slow exit. Chilton will be on push to pass now.
It's been a quiet, good run for Max Chilton today. Running in 7th, working on getting to 6th.
Is it possible that Hunter-Reay has a slow puncture from the earlier contact with Pagenaud?
Look at how slow he is through the apex there. So something definitely has happened with this car. Because look at Pagenaud, 3 corners, he's gone.
And look who's right back there. Maybe opportunities for positions for Elio Castroneves running in 8th. Right behind Chilton, right behind Ryan Hunter-Reay. Castroneves led the early moments of this race very impressively. He took the lead from 3rd to 1st in the first corner, but got a bad break when he had not pitted when the first yellow came out, and that allowed those that had pitted to cycle past him.
Look who's all over the back of Castroneves now, Sebastian Saavedra. So Saavedra really in a shot here to finish top 5 or 6. We ride on board with Saavedra.
And his best career finish ever, I think, is 8th.
And so he's on the push to pass, but
maybe get that.
He just burned them all. Saavedra out of push to pass. Out of Skittles, kids.
And you talk about push to pass as there's a move down in turn number 3, wheel to wheel, and Rahal gets the better of that. Now the situation, as you see now, a battle for Dixon picking up a position, and you mentioned that Saavedra ran out of push to pass. They told him actually not to use it. Remember, Sebastian Saavedra pitted early because he has to save some fuel. They said stay off of it until the end. He couldn't help himself. Unfortunately, he couldn't maintain the position. They told Castroneves now, by the way, you can use push to pass all the way home.
And that one position for Dixon just gave him a 3-point advantage over Castroneves. So every point is going to count at the end of the season.
So that's Hunter-Reay running in 6th, Chilton behind him in 7th, Castroneves taking a look, running in 8th position. Rahal is in 9th, Dixon now up to 10th.
Hunter-Reay looks like he's recovered now. He's checked away from Max Chilton, but Chilton is now in the clutches of Castroneves. If he gets that position, it's going to close that gap to Dixon back down to 1 point in the championship.
And I can only think, Paul, that just when Hunter-Reay went wide in that one corner, that the amount of pickup on his tires, it took him a full lap to get it cleaned up and fall back into the groove and get back on pace. Luckily for Josef Newgarden, Connor Daly's pretty quick. I mean, he's turning high 101s, low 102s. And so it's really not hurting Newgarden very much. Look at how dirty the track is.
Stay there where we are. We're okay on fuel, though.
We just heard from Cindric. He said, stay where we are. The pace of these guys in front is good enough to maintain that gap for 2 more laps. So don't get in any urgency, get mixed up with these 2 guys.
Yeah, they could come together. You don't want to be right behind them if they come together and take you out, because Newgarden's gap right now
racing each other,
is
maybe
safe.
a little too hard.
Well, especially with Takuma
Caught
Sato.
up in their mess.
There you go.
There's Cindric telling him, just like you, Kevin, be careful. Sato's got 30 laps almost on those reds.
But will this allow Alexander Rossi to close in a little bit?
White flag here, white flag.
1 more to go for Josef Newgarden. The gap at the line is still very comfortable.
And this is where you have to be careful. Lap to go, 2 hard chargers with Sato and Daly. Daly gonna go for it if he's got a chance, and Newgarden just has to protect.
Rossi on the push to pass, so he's trying to close this gap down in the last couple corners. Can he get there? Can he close this gap? He's definitely closed down a little bit.
Newgarden wants them to be on it. He doesn't want to have to deal with him. Go quickly. Help me keep Alexander Rossi at bay, about 2 seconds behind. Sato, Daly, trying to stay on their giddy up. Stay in their race and stay out of the leader's way.
2 more corners to go.
He's got it.
Josef Newgarden uses strategy to his advantage. The yellow works in his favor, and the championship is even tighter. Josef Newgarden has won again on the streets of Toronto.
Yeah, boys. How about that? Great car, great stop.
And now we watch how the rest of them come through. Rossi in second, Hinchcliffe. A great run for Marco Andretti, who is going to finish in 4th position. Simon Pagenaud, the pole sitter, will come home in 5th. And then Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to get a 6th place position. Chilton, 7th. Castroneves has to settle for 8th after dominating the early stages of this race. And the championship leader, Scott Dixon, comes home in 10th. His points lead is 3. Entertaining today. These fans enjoyed this one.
Canadian fans cheering on Hinch making the podium, but it's 2 young American drivers on the top 2 steps.
Back-to-back podiums for Hinch in his hometown, so that's a great result. No rain. It's definitely coming, but it sure made the race entertaining. It made a lot of strategy. Guys were making calls based on when that rain was going to come.
This is also the best finish for Alexander Rossi, other than his Indianapolis 500 win. He comes home in 2nd, but the day belongs to Team Penske and Josef Newgarden at Toronto. You're watching NBC's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Honda, an official vehicle of the Verizon IndyCar Series. And by Pengrade Motor Oil, make the grade. Exhibition place in the streets of Toronto. Josef Newgarden is in victory lane, and Anders Krohn is there to greet him.
And it's Josef Newgarden's 5th win and 2nd win here at Toronto. Man, oh man, the team just celebrating here with Josef Newgarden. What a dominant performance here for Josef Newgarden ever since, almost falls off the DeVilbiss orange car here for Team Penske. Team overjoyed here with the performance. Josef Newgarden absolutely dominant there. After catching a break there after that full course yellow, he's been out front the entire race since then, saving fuel, working with Tim Cindric and everyone, and trying to grab Josef Newgarden here. Josef, dude, they got me to victory lane. Yeah, with you, brother. Josef, you had a little bit of luck there with strategy, but after that, man, you just ruled the race.
Yeah, I mean, you can't discount it, right? I think that's twice I've had good calls in T.O. getting, into the pits at the right time. So thank you to the guys. Thank you, Tim, for making that call. We got it right. But, it's about managing the race after that. I thought we had a very fast car. We got a pretty good start, stayed out of the mayhem. But very, very happy for all of Team Penske. This is the Vilbus car. It's pretty bright, but it's very fast, too. So I'm pumped for all the two-car guys that did. Amazing job. Great job for Team Penske today.
And Josef, you came into the weekend 56 points back in the championship lead, now just 23 points back. Do you think you can go for the championship now?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be difficult beating all of our guys, but I'll tell you what, when you got Chevy power, you got Chevy reliability and fuel mileage, you feel pretty good about things. So I feel good about it. It's going to be a dogfight till the end. I think we've just got to be conservative, but aggressive at the same time. You can't sit back too much. You just got to make sure to stay out of incidences and hopefully get a couple more podiums before the end of the year, and I think we can get it done.
What are we going to see at Mid-Ohio from Josef Newgarden?
Well, hopefully something. I'd like to win somewhere I haven't won. I won at Barber, and then we won again there, and then I've already won here, so we won again in here with Team Penske. So I'd like to get these guys another win where I haven't won before. That'd be really great for me and for the entire group. So hopefully at Mid-Ohio we can get that magic.
Massive win here for Josef Newgarden, Katie.
And Alexander Rossi getting just his second career podium. Alex, you said this morning you thought you were ready for a breakthrough. Was this it?
I certainly hope so. I mean, it's been a long time coming, looking for that first podium, and hopefully this can be a foundation to go and chase more wins. I'm relieved that we finally kind of got the monkey off our back, and it was a huge turnaround overnight by Andretti Autosport, and to get this car to where it needed to be yesterday for qualifying was a huge effort to the whole team. Very proud of Honda for the effort that they've made. As we've said, this year's been a huge turnaround, and huge shout outs to the fans for coming. It's amazing coming here, and hopefully we can go to Mid-Ohio and get a win.
On that first round of pit stops, getting in before that yellow was pretty much what made your entire day. Were you part of that decision-making process at all?
Yeah, James has fallen off quite a lot, and I couldn't get by him. It's pretty tricky to pass around here, so I was asking to come in, and we knew it was a bit of a risk because we'd be looking to extend the future windows. But yeah, the team did a great job, and like I said, just relieved that we were able to pull it off.
Jan, lots of high fives, lots of smiles here in the 98 car.
Yes, and for the second year in a row, the hometown hero makes the podium, third for James Hinchcliffe, and pit strategy was key today. That early stop, but then you had to bring it home.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it was almost a carbon copy of last year. We really struggled on the reds this time. The rears just went off. I mean, I was looser than I think I've ever been on a street course, and it took everything I had to keep those guys behind me. And we came in and pitted at the same time as a bunch of guys, and then obviously TK caused that yellow there, which cycled us through to the front. I feel bad for the guys that were running up front, but not that bad. I've been that guy before. So, once we got on the blacks, the Aero Electronics car was amazing. Schmidt-Peterson Motorsport guys were great in the pits, and we came out and we were running those guys down. I mean, Josef and Alex in that last stint there, the car was really good on blacks, and I wish the race was like 10 or 15 laps longer. It might have been a bit of a race there at the end, but just huge thanks to the boys. Congrats to Josef and Alex, and just thanks to everybody in Toronto. It's always great coming back here.
Now, you said about the bad news for the boys up front, and that now puts you in the top 10 in the championship. That's a nice rebound from a tough beginning of the season. How about the stretch home?
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to try and keep the momentum going. We've had the season started really strong for us, and we had a mid-stretch there where, I mean, if we had any luck, it was bad. And I'm okay with no luck as long as there's no bad luck. Today we caught a lucky break, which is great. It kind of evens things out a bit, but we want to keep that momentum going and try and finish the season strong.
All right, all the fans here on the front straightaway definitely appreciate it. He was up on the wall waving to them first thing out of the car. They love James Hinchcliffe. The mayor of Hinchtown brings home a podium.
And the mayor always hosts a gathering in his hometown the night of the race. That should be festive coming up tonight. Now, we invite you to stay with us because we have plenty more to come. Almost a full half hour of coverage here from the Honda Indy Toronto until the top of the hour. But if you need more live racing right now, you can flip over to NBCSN for Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series coverage from New Hampshire. And then the re-air of this race will be on right after Cup coverage is done. But again, we've got plenty more to come. Storylines, two right there with Elio Castroneves and Simon Pagenaud in Toronto. High above Exhibition Place in Toronto. BMO Field down there. Toronto FC plays there. And there's the winning car of Josef Newgarden in Victory Lane, and more stories to follow post-race. Here's Jan.
Yes, and of course, Elio Castroneves, and I know we want to talk strategy, but I need to ask you, that first corner, that was incredible. Did you pre-plan that?
Yeah, okay, this is where it comes all the way along. 1997, I did some move like that in Indy Lights when I was driving here. So the situation occurred again, and it was really funny because I'm like, man, I'm gonna go for it. And as soon as the braking, we had the res, the car was really good. I didn't lock it or anything. It was a clean pass. And I'm like, okay. I told the guys, it's like, listen, I'm gonna be fair, but there is an opportunity, I'll make it. Great job to obviously everyone at Team Penske. Josef, obviously in the yellow there was a little bit tough. But I tell you what, cars are good, and this place is always like that. Sometimes who is the lead sometimes get caught in the yellow and get it the bad side of it.
Now, once you got in the front, you obviously had a car that appeared as though it was tuned to run in the front, and then the pit strategy doesn't fall the way you want. You're running behind cars. Is that what kept you back?
Good job, guys. You guys observed really well. Yeah, no, my car compared to Simon, it was a little bit harder on behind people, and but you know, in the beginning we're just saving fuel. I saw a little bit of spots of water, and I'm like, oh boy, it might be a red flag. But in the end of the day, never ran out, and I was just taking it easy. But when Roger called me pit, I was already in the middle of turn 10, and I was like, oh, I can't come in. So it's a shame that it came out that way, but at least one of our guys ended up winning the race. So Hitachi Chevy was really, really strong. We'll keep collecting points and getting closer in the championship.
All right, and that's 3 points behind. And for Castroneves, he did have that big debrief with Simon Pagenaud, and Katie has him.
You know, one thing interesting, we'll get with Katie and Simon in just a moment. That's the disadvantage of being the leader when that came out. Those behind him maybe still had a chance to react and duck into the pit lane, which is between turns 8 and 9. Elio mentioned he was in turn 10.
Well, that's the way the maple cookie crumbles up here in Toronto. But I got to go back to that move in the first corner, Paul. That was all or nothing. He is lucky that one of the cleanest drivers in the field, Simon Pagenaud, and his teammates saw him coming. Otherwise, that would have been a disaster for Team Penske.
WWPD. I've made a few moves like that and messed it all up. But Jan, you've got Simon there. Let's hear what he has to say about that pass.
Yes, they've pulled back into sort of that debrief, and I kind of overheard you guys. First of all, we heard you, Simon, on the radio kind of giving Elio props for that move that he made in turn number 1. Did that kind of surprise you?
Oh, yeah. I was determined to be to go really deep and get out in first position. But I tell you, the old man, Elio, he did a hell of a move. There's nothing to say about that. Sometimes you just get beat, and wow, that was a hell of a move. But we managed to fight back on the black tires. The car was phenomenal. Just a real shame we got caught up by the yellow. I think we had the strongest car today, but congrats to Josef. It's good that we kept it in the family.
Now, you had some very spirited racing with Brian Hunter-Reay, some wheel-to-wheel action there. What's your take on some of those battles?
Yeah, no, I thought it was he was very clean. You know, I got the inside way before that. I got the inside on the straightaway, and he left enough room so I could go through, which I thought was really clean. And then got sucked in a bit on the braking. We touched, and then there I bogged down. The engine just bogged down, and we touched on the exit. But that's nothing. That's racing.
Now, Townsend Bell and Paul Tracy pointed out that when you get in those very tight situations, you have a knack of making sure you keep your car in one piece. When it comes to a championship, that can be very important, as you learned last year.
Yeah, you know, I've done a lot of 24 hours races. I did a 24 hours of Le Mans, and that's really my background. So I'm used to have to take care of my equipment and finishing the race first before anything. I believe finishing races will get you points. So, but then a day like today, when you have such a good car, you just want to win the race, and unfortunately we couldn't do it.
All right, and that strategy's working. He's only 19 points behind in the championship.
Well, fastest lap of the race, Simon Pagenaud did have by about a 10th over Scott Dixon.
Well, he took that risk. He stayed out the extra lap. It got caught by the yellow, but what jumped him ahead of a bunch of guys was going those 2 extra laps at the end of the to the last stop, and that gained him a couple of more positions. So they were willing to roll the dice, and one time it worked, the other time it didn't.
And a statistic to back up what Jan talked about and what you guys pointed out, Simon Pagenaud remains the only driver to complete every lap this season. Another guy that had a really good day today, Marco Andretti, is with Anders.
Yeah, and Marco Andretti, your best finish since Fontana 2015. That's got to feel good after the rough luck you've had lately.
It's refreshing for sure. You know, a trophy would have been fun, but I think, you know, I had fun today. The car was well balanced. I think, you know, the UFD car was I was able to push and save fuel. We were lacking a bit of grip to the Penske's, but we got lucky. We got 2 or 3 guys on that yellow, so, you know, we'll take it. But it's starting to put the fun back in the sport for me. It's been very challenging, but you know, next goal is to try to put some more hardware in the trophy case.
And I heard a lot of radio coaching from Brian Herta there throughout the course of that race. Save fuel, stay in your position, everything like this. How has he helped you extract more from yourself?
Yeah, I was joking with him because obviously he gave me the old-fashioned go faster, save fuel, so we were laughing about it. But we were able to do that. You know, my engineer did a good job, and you know, Brian's definitely helped put some fun back into it for me. So you know, it's time to start making this a regular occurrence and keep moving forward.
Marco Andretti with a great finish here in Toronto. Robin?
All right, Ryan Hunter-Reay, good job. But the whole race came down to one of the most entertaining parts was you and Pagenaud banging into each other a couple times, and you almost had him, and then what happened?
Yeah, he gave me a nudge going by, and I thought, all right, I'm going to get back by you, and I got back by him, gave him a nudge back. It was fun. But I was loose the whole day in turn 6. I lost a spot earlier in the day there, and then holding Pagenaud off. I got in there pretty deep and just lost the rear. I'm lucky I kept it off the wall. He got by me, and then he was quite a bit quicker than we were, but I think I would have been able to hold him off. All in all, a good day for Andretti Autosport, 246. You know, considering we started 16th, it's a pretty good day.
There was also, Paul and Townsend were talking, it looked like it took forever to get, when you got high, to get all the marbles off your tires.
Oh, some of the worst pickup I've ever experienced. When I got loose in 6, I was running over marbles that were like the size of my fist. And it took 4 laps just to get the rubber back off the car. Like you said earlier, it wouldn't turn at all. I mean, it wouldn't turn, the rear, it wouldn't put power down. I almost lost quite a few spots there. So all in all, I think I'm thankful to bring it home P6. It was great to have all the support from DHL here. We've got a lot of people here from DHL Canada supporting us. We have our global CEO, CEO of the Americas here. So it's really nice to bring home a positive.
All right, brother. Kevin, 6th place. Better than kicking the head, like he said.
And back-to-back good results for Ryan Hunter-Reay, who finished 3rd at Iowa last week. He had a really rough stretch of bad luck, starting with the engine failure at the Indianapolis 500. Josef Newgarden, it's selfie time in Toronto. Josef Newgarden being celebrated here at Exhibition Place in Toronto, our 3rd multi-time winner this season, along with Will Power and Graham Rahal. 5th career for Josef Newgarden. More stories. Here's Katie.
Graham Rahal finished 10th today on the streets of Toronto. And Graham, I've noticed over the years that you are usually pretty good at calling yourself in for pit stops. What went into the decision-making today where you got caught out for that yellow?
The yellow came after we were past pit in. I mean, Newgarden was just lucky because he was falling off the train of the 3 of us, and you know, just luck today. Unfortunately, he was 2.5 seconds behind us, or just enough to get the call. And when they said to me, pit, I was turning into turn 9. So, and obviously I can't see what's going on in turn 1. Look, we played it right today. We got unlucky. The 3 best cars didn't win the race, weren't 1, 2, 3. And I can tell you there was nobody that was a match for the 3 of us, I think, all day. So it's a shame, you know, but sometimes luck plays a role in these things. And congrats to Josef. And obviously, you know, he still brought it home. But you know, you could see in the first stint, you know, Simon, Elio, and myself were taking off, and I felt that was a pretty easy pace for us to maintain and just to go from there. So, I mean, obviously I'm disappointed for the Rousseau team. You know, I'm happy for Turns for Troops and United Rentals, our program. We raised another several $1,000s to help our veterans. But look, I'm frustrated because today was a day we should have easily gained a lot of points on Dixon and gained points on Newgarden and everybody else. And unfortunately, the way that the officials have decided to close the pits these days, luck plays a huge factor in these things. And, you know, today it bit us.
And I asked you about turn 1 this morning. We noticed just how much your head moves in turn 1. Now after 85 laps, how do you feel?
I'm good. I got the worst cramp of my life in my left calf with like 4 to go when I was passing Saavedra, literally that lap when I went outside of him in 3. And the last 3 laps were kind of, you know what, after that. But we got it home, and, you know, like I said, another top 10. But, you know, I'm disappointed, and rightfully so. I think our guys they know the car and the product that we put on the track today was a car that was capable of winning this race. Our guys did a great job in the pits. I think we've proven that the number 15 is one of the cars to beat each and every single weekend. And you know, probably legitimately one of the very few that can take it to Penske every weekend. So I'm just extremely proud of this team and this organization.
Jan, he may be frustrated, but that's his 7th top 10 in the last 8 races.
And he mentioned Sebastian Saavedra, who of course started 20th and had a great race today, battling with people like Graham Rahal. And what about some of these battles? Because you're a guy who hasn't raced at this type of circuit for over 2 years, but yet you really brought it home today. It looks like a veteran.
I felt good. You know, I got to give kudos to the whole Schmidt-Peterson organization. They're the ones that gave me a great car to go out there. Amazing strategy. We took advantage of that yellow, and it paid off. But at the same time, we had a solid car that held on those blacks for a long time, and gave the chance for us to be there at the end.
Now, an interesting story we don't see very often. You might notice some blue on his face here. Oh, on your tongue as well. He lost the drink tube, and the team just jammed a tube in there at the last moment with no bite valve. How did that work out?
Well, not very well. Actually, all the water every time I put throttle came into the microphone. The microphone fried, so I had no communication to my team. So I could hear them, but I could not speak to them. But altogether, those small bits, I'll take them.
Wow, so performing and finishing 11th underwater.
You know what, I felt very good. Altogether, you know, there was a lot of questions in my head for this weekend. Of course, the physical side, I was a little bit nervous on how that was going to turn out to be. I felt very good. And it always helps to have a good car that actually keeps under you and allows you to actually battle with everybody around you. Pit stops were amazing, and altogether it's an addition of all these items that put the show today.
And Anders, you'd have to say for Sebastian Saavedra, that was a great audition.
It was very much so. Great performance by him. But also, Esteban Gutierrez, you've got to feel good today about your performance after that big crash yesterday.
Yeah, I think we can be feeling good because the team, first of all, did a fantastic job. They put a complete car together from yesterday to today. So I really want to thank them. I feel very grateful with them. Also, the fact that, you know, for us, beginning of the weekend, we started to make progress. All this weekend, we have been showing a better pace compared to the other events. Unfortunately, yesterday in qualifying with the accident, we kind of stepped back quite a lot, and obviously it was a kind of a starting from zero for us today. Was a bit challenging, but you know, that's why we can be happy that we recovered a lot of positions, and you know, we showed some good pace out there.
And obviously next up is Mid-Ohio, a permanent road course, a lot more similar to what you've driven in the past. Does that give you any confidence of results to come?
Yeah, kind of, and obviously the fact that I'm, you know, getting to know the car more and more every weekend gives me a lot of confidence, you know, to give the right feedback, to give the right direction on the setup, because that's what really been taking me a little bit of time to adapt here in IndyCar.
And another person that's also been on Esteban Gutierrez's pit stand this weekend has been Sebastian Bourdais. No doubt a big help to that operation.
Esteban Gutierrez's participation was in question until about 10 o'clock this morning. That hard crash yesterday, IndyCar announced that he was being evaluated for concussion-like symptoms and have to get checked again this morning. He was cleared, drove well. Here's how they finished here at Toronto.
A lot of Hondas in the top 10, top 11, only 3 Chevys. It looked like it was a Chevy brigade with the Penske group, but it all got broken up by a yellow flag, Townsend.
I think some great driving all around, great wheel-to-wheel battles. You know, really the Kanaan incident was the big one, but that was one driver out of the pits, cold tires. So they kept it clean, but they kept it fierce all day long. It was fun to watch.
Will Power, DNF, for the first time finished last since 2080. Made contact with Scott Dixon. We tried to find Scott Dixon, but we're told he's already left the ground, so unable to visit with him. More to come. Stay with us in Toronto. Time for the champagne celebration for the podium at Toronto. Josef Newgarden on the top step. Alexander Rossi's best finish since he won the Indianapolis 500 last year. And the hometown hero, James Hinchcliffe. But Newgarden, the story here today, he used the yellow to his advantage and gets his second win of the season in Toronto. Extra time and plenty of good stories to recap. Katie is with Max Chilton.
And Max Chilton is one of those good stories, Kevin, because he had a nice recovery after losing several positions on that first lap incident from your teammate Scott Dixon. Max, could you have done anything different on that first lap to prevent losing all those positions?
Hindsight, yes, but at the time it was highly frustrating. I was always in the wrong side of the track behind Scott, who was going slow, and getting overtaken on the inside or the outside. I just seemed to always be in the wrong place. So I lost 4 or 5 positions from where I should have been naturally. We sort of got it back. We ended up finishing higher than where we started, just because we got lucky with the yellow. We pitted a lap before it went yellow, so we had a decent result. I can't complain. It was just at the time I got sort of temperatures raised and probably frustrating the team with my radio communication.
On Friday when I talked to you, you were really lost. You didn't know what changes to make to this 8 car. What changed today that made this car so much better?
You know, Friday was okay for us. Saturday morning we were P-nowhere. I think I was 19th or 20th. We had 3 Ganassi cars in the bottom 5. But we tried a bit of a different setup. Qualifying, nearly got into the fast 6. So we were naturally starting the race in a good place. I actually didn't overtake a single car today on track. I only got overtaken, but I did my stay out of trouble, keep your nose clean, and we came away with a result. And even though we dropped a position in the championship, overall that was a better race for me in the championship. I've pulled away from certain cars and caught cars that I wanted to catch up. So I can't complain, and looking forward to Mid-Ohio in a fortnight's time.
And Jan, the pressure that Max feels on the track compares nothing to that wedding he has coming up in just a few weeks.
So we have an audio issue for Jan, so we'll try to catch up with him. And J.R. Hildebrand, who came home in 13th today, coming up in a moment. That gives us a chance, though, in case you joined us late, to recap this one, including an entertaining start to this race with Castroneves going from 3rd to 1st in the first corner.
Willie P got into it with Dixon on the first lap, and it put him out of the race. And as to the words from him, Townsend, might have put him out of the championship, but I think that's just a little bit of frustration. There's a 50-point race to end the season, so he's still in contention.
I think Will Power will be just fine down the stretch. This was Tony Kanaan straight out of the pits, cold tires. Rookie mistake, frankly, from one of the most experienced drivers in the field, and this was Newgarden getting a lucky break to hit pit lane before the yellow would come out for Kanaan.
The top 3 had not pitted. That was Castroneves, Pagenaud, and Rahal. Dixon, after that early contact, did stay on the lead lap, getting some help from his teammate here, getting a position back from Tony Kanaan, and Dixon was able to salvage a 10th place finish, and no one had anything for Josef Newgarden down the stretch. He wins by nearly 2 seconds on Alexander Rossi. And now we, I believe, can hear from Jan Bikas and J.R. Hildebrand after seeing them a moment ago.
Well, I certainly hope, yes. Awesome. That is the case. We do have some audio. And, of course, this was his best street course start of this year. And, unfortunately, you got caught up by that early strategy, and then it was all makeup from there.
Yeah, I thought we were looking good to save fuel and go a little long on that first stint, and then we didn't catch that first yellow. And at that point, we're kind of just stuck at the back, saving fuel for the rest of the race. So, you know, a bummer because we definitely made some progress this weekend, had a little bit of a better start. Like we're looking a little bit on the racy side, you know, but we'll have to wait for the next one. So I have a quick question though. Did Josef crash after he got on? Did he fall off his car after he got on the thing in the podium?
Well, he had a slip. Let's just call that a slip. But you know, when you're in victory circle, slips are okay. Kevin?
He lost points on the dismount, but he gained a lot of points on the racetrack today. Like the bill of his Sunoco cap in victory lane. So here you go, guys.
It's just a little Tennessee two-step there.
I'll tell you what, things could have got bad there in a hurry if he'd have got those leg caught in the A-arm and gone over. So that was a lucky break right there.
I bet it hurts and he's just playing it off.
God, worst case scenario with the leg caught and the A-arm, but moving on. Look at the points.
So Newgarden moves up to 4th. Dixon still in front, but now by just 3.
Josef Newgarden moves up big time with that win today. Graham Rahal still hanging on, frustrated by the yellows, but Alexander Rossi made up some ground too.
And slowly but surely, local boy James Hinchcliffe works his way into the top 10. He could factor into things as we head down the stretch to Sonoma.
So we've only got 5 races to go. 3 more road courses, including the next one, along with Watkins Glen and Sonoma after Mid-Ohio, and ovals at Pocono and Gateway, and much to still play for, and at least 6 contenders.
And with that schedule, it would be hard to bet against this guy right here. He's run strong on all those tracks, and his Penske Chevy is working well.
Josef Newgarden uses the yellow to his advantage, and he wins for the 2nd time in 2017. Well, NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series. The Brickyard 400 is coming up next Sunday at 2 o'clock Eastern on NBC. IndyCar continues on CNBC, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, in 2 weeks, Sunday, July 30th, 3 o'clock Eastern. For more info on the Verizon IndyCar Series, log on to NBCSports.com. Congratulations, Josef Newgarden wins on the streets of Toronto. Thanks so much for joining us.